up? Hey everyone, welcome to Wrestle Recap. My name is Michelle Tate.
My name is Justin Tate.
And we are the only brother-sister duo that takes you on the journey of wrestling throughout the decades.
Pay-per-view by pay-per-view. I'm loving it. Are you loving it?
I am so loving it because this wasn't our original plan, Justin.
That's right. That's right. We had a whole other concept for this show.
We did. And then Justin apparently had a moment in the middle of the night where it all just hit him. And he texted me, he was like, I have a weird idea. And I agreed with it. So that's where we are today.
Yes, that is what has brought us to, we're now on episode 20. So we are we've hit the 2-decade mark, I guess.
The 2-decade? Well, we've only made it to 1989. We've made it 6 years, but those early years went by pretty quick. That we're getting more shows as the years go on.
Yeah, it slows down when you don't have just one pay-per-view a year. But
yeah, but I enjoy it that way. I just want to apologize to everyone. I'm a bit under the weather, so if I sound kind of weird, that is why. If you see me pause and blow my nose, no judgy. We all do it. Don't judge me.
And if she doesn't sound weird, she is still weird. She just doesn't sound
exactly. I just sound extra sultry. I sound kind of like China.
Oh God, I don't know that I'd call her sultry, but
she had a porno, Justin.
She did. Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. Well, Justin, we don't have any current wrestling to talk about, really, because not a lot is going on. But also, these next few months, we're pre-recording a lot because we're traveling a lot. And so, yeah, I say, why don't we just hop in the time machine?
Let's do it. It's gassed up. Let's get it going.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Ooh. Yeah. My ears didn't even pop.
I wish my ears would pop. I can't hear anything outside my own head right now.
Inside your head's a good place to be. Let's talk about today's show, which is WWF WrestleMania 5, subtitle, The Mega Powers Explode. It took place on April 2nd, 1989 from the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The attendance for the show, almost 19,000 people jam-packed in there. Our commentators, Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura, as we've come to know and love that team over the years. And the number one song on April 2nd, 1989. It's not one that I'm crazy familiar with. Did you know this one, Michelle?
Absolutely not. I figured you would.
No, it's The Look by Roxette. Play a clip. That's about the only part of that song that I know. And the rest is just lost.
That's really all the song is she's got the look. She's got the look.
I feel like that was used for like a pantyhose commercial or something at some point.
Or like Pantene Pro V. Totally.
No. Do they still sell the Legs brand of pantyhose that come in remember they used to come in like a giant egg?
I have no idea, Justin. No one has bought pantyhose since 1993. Who buys pantyhose in this day and age?
Bank robbers, they got to have something to put on their heads.
I guess, but I didn't know that pantyhose ever came in like an egg.
Yeah, it was like an egg-shaped thing, you know?
That seems very wasteful for this environment, but
it's true.
Pantyhose are nasty. Anyway, let's get into the background of this show. Just like last year, this show was promoted as taking place at Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino, but it was actually held at the convention center across the street.
Ooh, that's sneaky. That's tricky. That's dishonest.
It is dishonest.
And that's the wrestling business.
This is the only time that WrestleMania was held at the same venue 2 years in a row.
Interesting. You know what? I guess that's right. They have gone back to the same venue in separate years, but never 2 in a row. That's interesting.
But, I mean, technically they broke that because now they have 2 nights of WrestleMania and they do happen in the same location.
That is true. That is true. So forget it. That's a false fact.
It is a false fact, but you know what's not false?
What?
The Wrestle Stats.
I love the Wrestle Stats. It is my life. It consumes my life daily.
I believe it. Hit me.
We like birthdays around here. Who doesn't love a birthday? So let's talk to some of these people who have a birthday. In fact, Today, the day this episode comes out, Velvet McIntyre turns 62 years old. How about that? Happy birthday, Velvet McIntyre. Also, this
That's
coming
it.
Wednesday, the 27th, Buddy Rose, who we saw play the Executioner on the very first WrestleMania, he would have been 71 years old. And Davey Boy Smith, who we've seen a lot and who we will continue to see a lot, would have been 61 years old this coming Wednesday, which is kind of sad. 61, and he's already been gone like 20 years.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This Friday, the 29th, Dutch Mantel will turn 75 years old. And big shout out to Dutch. He and his wife have been going through some medical things. There's a GoFundMe out for them. So if you got some extra jingle, go help out one of the legends, Dutch Mantel, and go listen to his podcast too if you're into that sort of thing. And this coming Saturday, the 30th, Elijah Akeem, who we saw on an early Starrcade, would have turned 74 years old, and the Z-Man, Tom Zink, would have turned 66 years old. So there's your birthdays for this episode. Now let's talk about the show we're going to watch today. The average age of wrestlers on this show, 34 years old. Does that age sound familiar, Michelle?
I mean,
No?
I guess it's my age, so that's exciting. I feel like we're moving up. Like our last show we did, the average age was like 30, right? And
Yeah.
so WWF, I almost said WWE, WWF is getting old.
I guess so. I guess we need a new generation, but that won't come till like 1995. But anyway, that's the average age of the wrestlers. Now, the youngest wrestlers on the show, it's a tie between the Blue Blazer, aka Owen Hart, and Shawn Michaels, who are both 23 years old here. And the oldest person to compete on this show, the one and only Mr. Fuji, who at this time was 54 years old. How about that?
Well, good, because that is the first time I think you've ever given me an age, and I'm like, yes, he looks exactly 54 years old on this show. That is appropriate.
Yeah. Well, speaking of all of the wrestlers who we've talked about and seen wrestle so far on Wrestle Recap, the past 19 episodes, of all of them who are still living, their average age today is 69 years old. And the average age of death for all the wrestlers who we've covered is 61, which is actually up from last week when it was 60 years old. So, hey, that's good news.
Yeah, we're living longer now in 89.
I like it. I like it. But let's get to the most important number. Out of the 186 wrestlers we have seen perform on Wrestle Recap, 105 of them are still alive for a percentage of 56.45%. I want to sing. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's talk about wrestlers who we will see in a match for the last time on this show. There's only one of them, and it's Mr. Fuji. We're going to see Mr. Fuji a lot over the years, but as a wrestler in a match, this is the only time. Only time. And all the championships we're going to see him again. So no need to worry about that. So what do you say we get on into the show itself?
Yes, let's do it. It's a long one, folks. Bear with us. It's a long one, but we will try to keep it as entertaining as possible.
We will do our best. So right off the top, we get a sexy saxophone. I love a sexy sax. It's a saxy. There's storm clouds and thunder on the screen, followed by a picture of Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, and we hear the voice of Vince McMahon. The Mega Powers explode here at WrestleMania 5. Then the picture of Hulk and Randy explodes. The drama is such drama. Then we get a sweeping shot of the jam-packed arena as Gorilla Monsoon welcomes us to the show and says you can cut the electricity with a knife. Kids, don't try to cut electricity with a knife. Doesn't end well. Howard Finkel, get this, introduces WWF Women's Champion Rockin' Robin, who is in the ring to sing America the Beautiful. Yeah, the women's champion is singing America the Beautiful. You can tell by her voice that Robin is very nervous, but she doesn't do a horrible job.
Justin.
Yes.
Justin Tate. We literally had Aretha Franklin last year.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago, dang. Sing this exact same song. Like, You're
Okay,
so
you're right.
nice.
You're right. It wasn't great. It wasn't great.
I don't understand. Like,
Bless you,
I was
Robin.
just sitting there,
Bless you.
like,
Well, while she
uh,
sings, we see photos of purely, and I mean purely American things: the flag, the Statue of Liberty, ocean waves. Yeah. There's also a shot of a kid in the crowd wearing a Body Glove t shirt. Do you remember Body Glove?
no, I saw this in the notes and I was like, what is body glove? I don't know what that
It was
is.
like this brand of clothes back then. I think I had at least one Body Glove shirt. It was like purple, but it was like, I think it was like a surfing brand, but then it became cool to just wear these because surfing was cool in the 80s. So everybody wore them.
That would make sense. There was a lot of surfing on early 90s television, so I get it.
There was, there was. Well, Rockin' Robin finishes singing, and Jesse Ventura says,
Oh.
she better keep her day job. Which he's
He's
not
not
wrong.
wrong.
He's not wrong. And as we mentioned on the Royal Rumble recap, she wouldn't keep her day job for long because she would leave the company a
Oh.
couple months after this. So
Oh.
maybe she took on a singing career. Actually, I think she works in real estate now, is what we said previously. So good for her. Arena wise, it looks exactly the same as last year's WrestleMania because it's in the same arena. Aside from the WrestleMania 5 banners and ring skirt, there's still the same basic black curtain with the WWF logo over it and a very long entranceway with stairs. And the stairs will matter
Stairs.
later. So we're ready to go. I think the royal music starts, and here we go with the first of 14 matches on this show.
Oh man, 14 matches. A lot of people complain like the AEW will have like 11 or 12 matches on the show. And for me, those go a little bit faster than this show seemed to go. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I know everybody and it's not like a random match of people that I'm like, about, but it was a feat to watch the show, but we did it. And yeah, we're starting off with Hercules versus King Haku with Bobby
Bless
Heenan.
you.
Now, nah, dude, did you see me earlier? I had to mute it and sneeze. It came out of nowhere, but you just kept going, so I was like, "Cool."
I'm here to cover for your snotty nose.
Oh, thank you. Well, Hercules and King Haku both last wrestled on the WWF Royal Rumble 1989, and they're pretty close to the same age. Hercules is 32 and King Haku is 30 on this show. So, yeah, let's get into the match.
Yeah, so just like at the Royal Rumble, King Haku is carried to the ring on his throne. Fortunately, unlike the Royal Rumble, the guys carrying him are not in random singlets and tights. They're now wearing the finest suits that Kmart has to offer. Kmart, Steinmart, I don't know. I miss Kmart.
Dude, it's a big thing in Australia still. That's where I bought so many of my clothes and other things when they lost my luggage. And they had like that's where they had like the FUBU t-shirts and stuff. It's like they plucked it out of the 90s in America and stuck it in Australia in
Man,
2024.
that was like here in town. That was one of the few places you could get an icy.
Yeah, and they had the Superman ice cream, which was like would turn your mouth insanely blue.
Oh
I loved that.
yeah, yeah. Good times,
Yeah.
good times. Looking at Haku here, you would think that a king could afford shoes.
Well, why would he waste the money? He gets carried everywhere, right?
Good point. Good point. Good point. On the flip side, barefoot wrestlers always freak me out. And I think we've talked a little bit about this. Like, I don't even take my shoes off in the house. Like, I get up in the morning, I put them on, I go to bed, and I take them off right before I get in bed. Much less would I do anything physical without them.
I fully agree. Matt Riddle, we watched him wrestle right there. And I was like, oh, you definitely don't want to not wear shoes in Odessa. But people think I'm really strange for wearing shoes in the house. And I think we are. I think we're in the minority because I too, like, I wake up, my shoes are on, or I always have at least flip flops on. And I think we got it from our dad
Yeah.
because, like, he would always like get out of the shower, shoes on. So why do you wear shoes in your house? Because I have a reason.
Because I have this fear of like kicking something or stubbing something or stepping on something and it hurting.
I totally get that. Mine is more a cleanliness thing. I don't like feeling little dirt
That
pieces or
too.
dog
Yeah.
hair because I have 2 Australian Shepherds, so there's so much dog hair in my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's why.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
Hmm,
It's a good point.
yeah.
Shoes united in the house. It's
Yes.
I've only been to one house where they like made you take your shoes off when you came in and leave them by the door.
I had a friend like that in junior high, and I thought that was strange, but now, like, when I go to a really clean house, I'm like, "Do you want me to take off my shoes?" Because I feel weird walking on their clean rug and
Well, but
crap
people
with
are
it.
like, "Oh, but there's germs on your shoes." Motherfucker, what do you think grows on your feet inside your shoes?
Exactly. I mean, maybe it's outward germs, like, from the world.
Oh boy. Oh boy. We'll talk. We'll talk. Well,
We'll
Bobby
talk.
Heenan during the entrance takes the mic and says it would be appropriate to stand and bow to the king. But in the background, one guy is already standing as Donald Trump himself arrives in the front row to take in tonight's action.
This is so strange. Like, number one, it's just so strange that we're watching in 1989, the president in 2024. He's on our TV on the front row at a wrestling show. But even weirder is this past weekend, he was sitting on the front row at UFC and he came in and had the exact same kind of entrance and waved. And then he saw Joe Rogan and their buddies and whatnot. But like, the president of the United States is on the front row of WrestleMania 5. So do you know what that means?
What does that mean?
That means Dave Meltzer could be the president of the United States because he was on the front row during our last show.
That's true. Yeah, Dave Meltzer. And then he could write a whole like 20,000 word newsletter to us every week and
Exactly.
argue with his vice president Brian Alvarez on their radio show, on their podcast. It would be
There you go.
great.
He could federally fund wrestling. Like, he could stop wasting money on like kids' education and do wrestling instead.
Of course. I can't agree because of what my wife does for a living,
Oh,
but
that's right. My bad.
well, Hercules enters the ring and he swings his big chain around. That's not a euphemism. He has a chain. Every time there's a chain in the ring, kind of like having no shoes on, all I can think about is how bad it hurts to get your hand like pinched by a
Mm.
chain and how many times this must have happened to Hercules.
I agree with you. You had one of those chains for your bike, which, like,
Oh,
in
yeah.
1990, we did not need chains for our bikes, but that one would always get me,
Yeah.
man. But you kind of already referred to it, but like, is this not oddly phallic to you? Like swinging his big thing around? I feel like this is a metaphor.
I think pretty much anything from Greek mythology somehow finds its way back to it's a wiener. I don't know.
I mean, is that because we're nasty or was that always the intention?
I will not blame myself for this one. I just won't.
Okay, good.
Okay. Haku spends his match doing more of those random vocalizations that we talked about on the Royal Rumble. Oh, sha 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 sha. Ah, sha, sha, sha. I love it. I love it. Gorilla and Jesse are really in a groove on commentary throughout this show. Jesse points out Donald Trump in the front row and says, I got him those seats, which is kind of funny to me. And then a bit later, we get our first bear hug of the night. And Gorilla says that Haku needs to get the bear hug up a little higher. And then Jesse asks, what would a gorilla know about a bear hug? I love Jesse.
That part did make me laugh. And like, my question is, did they always refer to Hercules as Herc? Because I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know if they had it before this, but like it's a nickname I know for him, so I don't know when it started, but yeah.
Oh, it's the first time I've noticed it, and I'm like, ew, I don't like that with that hard C at the end. Yuck. I
All
don't
right.
like that.
Well, I'm watching this show and I'm looking at the match, I'm looking at the crowd, and then I go, hold up. There is a kid next to Donald Trump. Is that Don Jr.?
Well, I was wondering that too, because like he only has Baron, right? Like that's like his
Well,
only
and he
son,
has
right?
Eric.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he has Eric, but this kid had dark hair, and Eric I don't think does.
Well, damn, I was thinking it was just a Make-A-Wish kid. Like, hey, we're gonna make you this deal. You have to sit next to Trump. That's the bad part of the deal. You have to sit next to this man, but we're gonna give you tickets to this show, front row at WrestleMania. That's
Yeah.
what I thought it was.
I mean, it may not have been Don Jr. I didn't see his jaw moving 1,000 miles an hour and him look at. Anyway, I can't make that joke. I should not make that joke.
Heyo. Wasn't that Hunter Biden? What, wrong president's son. Hunter Biden's the
It's the
cocaine
both of
one.
them.
They're both. I never knew. Well, obviously, I didn't know this about Eric Trump because I didn't even know he existed. I thought he only had one son. I thought there was Ivanka or whatever her name is, and then Barron. Whoops, my
Nope,
bad.
nope.
Well, I think he had Barron when he was like 65 because that kid, I mean, he's just now like 18.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, when Haku was using the rope to choke Hercules, that looked super legit. Like Hercules was turning purple. And so I was wondering, like, was he kind of controlling it, like pushing it like harder up against his throat to choke himself, or was he just holding his breath? Like, how'd they do that?
Probably a combination of the two. Yeah, and I mean,
Okay.
God, Hercules
Ah, yeah, don't.
was on. He had a lot of help with his physique, and I can't imagine that his heart was very forgiving of it. So that could have something to do with it. But you remember last week you said that NWA matches can just end out of nowhere. Well, that's what happened here. Hercules hits a belly to back suplex and he gets the pin absolutely out of nowhere. Did not think that was the finish in just under 7 minutes. What'd you think of the match?
Yeah, it really surprised me. I swear they listen to this podcast and they go back and change it because our timing on this is always so
Well, if they're
exact.
doing that, I got a
Um,
few other changes they should listen to, but that's okay.
well, I thought the match was fine. I think because it was the first one, there are other matches later on in the night that I definitely am like, why was that on the card? But I understand why this one was there, and I appreciated that it was short. What did you think of it?
Yeah, good warm up match. Like you said, if they moved it later on, I'd be like, all right. But good one to start off the night with. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, well, we go backstage with Mean Gene Okerlund, and he is with the Rockers, and they've got this fantastic, majestic purple background. It was fantastic. But Shawn Michaels says that tonight they're going to show the Twin Towers something they've never seen before. What, like their own feet?
Oh,
Whoa,
them some big
whoa.
old boys.
Speaking of feet, Marty Jannetty, get it. Get it? He's about to lose foot. Or maybe he already did. Anyway, Marty Jannetty says just to come out in one piece tonight would be an accomplishment. Well, I would hope they would come out in two pieces because one, that'd be a little weird.
Yeah,
It's like I don't know. Because if they came out in one piece, there'd only be one of them left.
right. Yeah, they need to come out in two pieces, Sean and Marty.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Gene tosses it back to Gorilla and Jesse, who say that the Twin Towers are just too big for the Rockers to beat. And we're ready for our next match.
That's right. It is a tag team match, as we just talked about. The Rockers versus the Twin Towers with their manager, Slick. Saw all these guys on Royal Rumble 89 last. And the age ranges, this is crazy because you look at these four guys and you would kind of think that it's more of a broad range of ages.
Yeah.
All of them are in their 20s here. Shawn Michaels, 23, Big Boss Man, 25, and then Akeem and Marty Jannetty, both 29 years old. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, man. And just when you're watching this as a kid, they seem so much older, you know? And
Yeah, yeah.
even now, like I look back and I'm like, you know, seeing like Paul Heyman and stuff, I'm like, they were babies. But not gonna lie, when I still watch like the high school cool shows from the 90s, I still look back and I'm like, nope, you're still 40. You still look older than a high school kid to me.
Yeah. Let's get into it. The Twin Towers already in the ring with Slick, and Akeem is grooving to their theme, Jive Soul Bro, doing the hand thing. You know,
Yeah. Did
that,
you appreciate Slick's calamine lotion pink suit?
that is a very good way to describe the color of that suit. That is perfect, actually.
Yeah. Exactly. I thought so.
Yeah, yeah. And then the Rockers enter to that theme. That it's just that was one of those chills moments for me.
Oh yeah, I got chills, but I'm still waiting for Sexy
Oh, it's
Boy.
coming. It's coming.
Is coming.
Yeah.
That will be my ultimate chills moment.
Yeah, well, one move into the match, and Shawn Michaels is already tugging on his waistband, like we talked about on the Rumble.
It's like, I don't know if you watched that Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. Did you watch it, Justin?
We tried, and because of the buffering issues, we turned it off before they even got to the main event.
Right. Well, he kept biting his glove. And I actually thought about this with Shawn Michaels and the tugging on the waistband. I'm like, maybe it's meant for a signal. Because to me, the biting the glove thing was like, hey, Jake Paul, you actually hurt me. Stop it. Like, that was like his signal. But you know what, Justin? If he wants to pull his waistband all day long, I'm okay with that because his selling is on a different level. Like he makes it look so freaking believable, and he's just simply one of the best.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a reason that he's tied with Undertaker for my favorite of all time. Just so stupid good to me,
Yeah,
best top to bottom performer ever. So
definitely.
really cool to see him from the beginning here, and we're just going to see his whole journey throughout all these pay-per-views. Akeem tags in and does his whole jiving thing with his hands, and I think Akeem only has one set of gear, and like maybe Boss Man does too. And I'm not sure if Boss Man's pit stains are from tonight or before, but these two guys always look exactly the same anytime you see them.
Yuck, gross. Well, and that's why he's forever going to be Paul Blart for me. Like I can't see anything else. He's an angry Paul Blart. Um
That's gonna be the next sequel, Angry Paul Blart.
Please, because that man's too nice. He needs to get angry. But hey, at one point, Marty leapfrogged Akeem, and that was hella impressive because I Googled it. Akeem was 6'9". And
Dang.
so to jump over him, like it looked really impressive, but I knew. But speaking of size, Gorilla says that Big Boss Man weighs over 400 pounds again. And I'm like, Gorilla, you're lying.
From the same guy who said that Boss Man's nightstick was 25 pounds.
I mean, if that's how much his equipment weighs, maybe he's 400 pounds. But like, dude, 400 pounds is like those TV shows where they like have to go on there to lose weight. Like, there's no way a wrestler is 400 pounds. Maybe, I don't know, Yokozuna. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, some double teaming happens, and Jesse just has to dig at the referee, Joey Morella, who, as we talked about, is Gorilla's son. He says, well, you know, Morella has a hard time counting to 5. And then that brings on another Gorillaism. Will you stop? We'll hear that one a lot.
You know who that reminds me of? That reminds me of John Briggs.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was we did theater with him our entire lives. He was my yearbook teacher, and he would always go, "Will you stop it?" So that's what that reminds me of. But I had just been adding to my notes like how Gorilla was doing that thing where he only calls a ref by name if it's his son.
Yeah.
And I love Jesse trolling him. He even called him that idiot Morella like several times. It was so
And all
funny.
Gorilla can do is just sit there and take it, right?
Exactly. Like it's like he's poking him and he's bullying him knowing Gorilla's not going to bite back. It's so
Right.
funny.
Well, later, Jesse complains about the referee not counting to 5 when the Rockers are double teaming, and he kind of has a point.
This pay-per-view has made me realize I really really agree with Jesse more often than not
Yeah.
because I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Well,
he's kind of always right.
he is. And like whether it's about something like that's very objective, like factual
Yeah.
or an opinion, a lot of times I agree with him.
Well, and the thing is, most heels, like the best heels, I think, are the ones who are completely right and completely justified. They're just jerks about it.
So does that mean that Hulk Hogan is completely justified and right?
Hulk Hogan is a heel. He just
But
doesn't know it.
okay. Well, Akeem is running the ropes and he acts like he's going to hit Marty, but Marty moves. Duh, because Akeem is running so freaking slow. It would be dumb if he didn't move. Like he had a 7-second warning of Akeem trotting at him in slow motion. It was like down, 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 down,
It's like one of
down.
those old wrestling video games. I don't remember which one, which if you were like too beaten down and you tried to run, it was like, like you're running through glue.
Yes, I fully agree with you. Well, Big Boss Man climbs his big body self on top of the ropes and it looked a little shaky. It made me
Yeah.
nervous. And like luckily he like once he got up there, he realized it was shaky. He was like, "Oh, I got to jump." And he made the move happen. It went well, but it made me
Well,
nervous.
those ropes are rated for 401 pounds. So he was probably fine. He was probably
Oh,
good.
that makes sense.
Well, a huge clothesline from Akeem to Shawn Michaels, who bumps and sells like it just got hit by a cannon. And one splash later, and it is over. The Twin Towers win the match in 8 minutes and 2 seconds. Did you like this one?
Yeah, I did. It was okay. I don't know why. These days, I'm not digging tag team matches as much as I used to. And maybe it's just these old school ones. I don't know, but I did like it. I like the talent that were on it. Obviously, Shawn Michaels is one of my favorite, and I thought Marty and Shawn really did look very tiny, like next to him. So it was a cool look, and it makes sense that the Twin Towers won. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about how agile Big Boss Man is. Akeem, not so much. But if you want two guys who are going to just be able to bump all over the ring and make Boss Man and Akeem look really dominant, they picked the right two guys in the Rockers.
For sure.
Well, backstage, we see the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Virgil, who are being interviewed by Tony Schiavone. What? He's made the jump over from the NWA, Michelle. We got Tony Schiavone in the WWF.
It threw me off for half a second. And, we've been watching a lot of these shows, trying to preload our schedule. And I was just getting confused, and that confused me even more.
Well, somewhere during the jump, he lost his mustache, which I think we can all agree was a good move. Very good loss.
Thank goodness.
But by the way, the first thing I noticed, this is a fake locker room that they're standing in.
How do you know?
Well, they're going to use fake locker rooms on other shows, but this is the first one that I've noticed so far. I'm not sure, but I think that tile wall behind the lockers, those teeny tiny lockers that nobody could put anything in, I think that tile wall back there is actually linoleum flooring hanging vertically.
Like the sticky stuff?
Right, like you used to have like on the floor of your kitchen in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
I think that's
By
what
the way,
it is.
everyone, that was not a demon growling. I just heard my dog growl, like he does this weird groan, and I heard it in my ears. And so I feel like everyone's gonna be like, "Go back, there was a demon sound." No, that was just my dog.
Well,
the kitchen floor.
Ted DiBiase says that he pays thousands of dollars to look the way he does, and if Brutus the Barber Beefcake thinks he's going to get his grubby hands on that head of hair, you better think again. But even more important, this is the first pay-per-view appearance of the $1 Million Championship. Now, for those who don't know, it's a championship that Ted DiBiase in kayfabe paid to have created since he didn't win the WWF Championship. So it's kind of like the FTW Championship that Taz had, something like that, or the Internet Championship that Zack Ryder had. But here's a fun fact about it. From what I understand, all of the jewels on the front of the $1 Million belt are fake. But there's one actual diamond embedded in the back of the belt to actually give it a certain value. So super cool to finally see that belt come around.
Oh yeah, I'm interested to see, like, does it go to people other than Ted?
We'll have to see.
Oh, fine, I guess. Well, let's get into this match. It's Brutus Beefcake versus Ted DiBiase with Virgil. Now, both of these guys wrestled last on WWF Royal Rumble 1989. Mr. Brutus is 31. Brutai, as a gorilla would say, is 31. Ted DiBiase is 35 years old.
Yes. And as we get into this, Ted DiBiase and Virgil make their entrance and they stop ringside to shake hands with Donald Trump. And Ted is also announced by Howard Finkel as the self-proclaimed $1 Million Champion. And Gorilla asks, who'd he beat for that title? And Jesse says, the banker. That makes sense to me.
Heyo. Well, Finkel, he bugged me. Finkel announced Virgil as Virgil.
What?
Did you hear that? He said, and Virgil or Virgil.
What?
And I was like, it drove me nuts. I was like, his name's Virgil, not Virgil.
I did not hear that. That's hilarious.
I mean, I feel like he's probably announced him before. I was like, are you trolling him? Like, because that's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. It might have been a rare slip up from the Fink. But Brutus Beefcake enters to his original non-dubbed music. We don't have a whole lot of dubbed music on these WWF shows anymore, which is great. He has a duffel bag, which he opens to reveal the famous hedge clippers. And Jesse says, do you think Donald Trump would get a haircut from Brutus? I kind of think he already did, but maybe still does. Anyway, go on.
Well, he definitely uses the same voluminizing spray that Brutus uses because, like, Trump has some floofy hair. Like, have you ever seen it from the side? It's so, like, tall, but it's airy.
Yeah.
And, you got to use that hairspray, man, because Brutus has that big old poof, too.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And we will see another interesting hairstyle later in the show. More interesting than a lot of 80s hairstyles. But funny little inside joke banter between Gorilla and Jesse here. Jesse asks what would happen if Ted laid down that $1 million championship on a casino table, and Gorilla responds that he would get, well, $1 million line. Then Jesse says it would take you about 3 hours to lose that, which is funny because Gorilla was notorious for his gambling habits, not to the point of like addiction or anything, but he's definitely no stranger to betting on pretty much anything that he was allowed to.
Oh my gosh, was he like those dudes in Rat Race when like they're like betting who's gonna throw up first on the plane and stuff like that? Was he that guy?
I don't think I think he limited it to casinos. I don't think it
Oh,
was that
okay.
bad.
Well, Jesse randomly, out of nowhere, says that he was once on a plane with Farrah Fawcett, and he states that she wouldn't get off of him and that he had to ask a stewardess for help. And I'm like, Jesse, where did this even come from? Like, were you just bored with this match? Like, what segued into this? You just brought it up out of nowhere.
That's a good point. I heard that too. I was like, did I miss something? What? What?
I know. I thought I did. I went back. No, he just pulls it out of his butt, like out of nowhere.
I wonder if he like just won a bet by saying that. I don't know. That's weird. It's out of nowhere. Well, the mesh on Brutus Beefcake's gear is starting to become like a flesh-eating disease. Like he's wearing gold gear with the mesh running all the way up the legs, but now it stops about a quarter of the way into the butt cheeks. And if it goes much further, he'll be able to wink at us from both directions.
Oh, what? Mental picture. Like his butthole winks?
Yeah. Yeah.
He got two of them?
Well, I mean, you only need one to wink.
But you said both sides.
But I mean, I'm in his eyes.
I'm sick, Justin. I can't understand humor right now.
I'm sick too,
But
but
no,
we're talking about different things. Go on.
I agree though. His pants, they are getting more and more revealing. It's like kind of like how on The Walking Dead, how their clothes like deteriorate the further seasons we go. That's what's happening to Brutus's gear. But Ted is getting his butt kicked from the get-go. And I was thinking, I was like, I've never seen this really happen to him. And then right then Gorilla commented on it and he said he's never seen Ted, quote, start off this slow before. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of a new side of Ted, because normally he comes in all like pompous and stuff. So I kind of liked it.
Yeah. It's good to see some vulnerability there. We
Yeah.
should point out Donald Trump's sitting with a bunch of other people who are obviously rich, like right there in the front row. And it's
Mhm.
kind of distracting to see them throughout the show. It's like they're kind of watching without really caring. Like they kind of have to be there. And it's almost like these people in the ring are like zoo animals performing for their entertainment.
Yes. And like, so Jesse does say that Donald brought in 5 or 6 of the richest men in America to watch Ted DiBiase, but that's exactly what happened at UFC. Like he had Elon Musk with him, like rich dude. And yeah, it's like sitting there as if like you're not super into the match, you're not really like super into what's going on, but it's like zoo animals. Like let's watch the pores battle it out.
I think I use this similarity to describe something else, but it's like when your parents would take you to go see like the Ninja Turtles live and they didn't get it. They were watching it because they had to be there, right?
Yes.
Like not
Yes, that
piss, just watching it happen.
that was kind of me this past weekend at my first Ren fair.
Yes, your first Ren fair.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk about that in a bit because
Okay.
that was a
Well,
bizarre
Brutus is thrown
experience.
to the outside where he's attacked by Virgil, and then Brutus stalks Virgil around the ring before being attacked from behind by Ted DiBiase, and then they brawl until the referee hits the 10 count. It ends in a double count out in just over 10 minutes. Post match, Brutus sends Ted into the ring post and chases Virgil into the ring. Brutus hits an atomic drop and the sleeper before Ted runs in, gets 2 body slams for his troubles, and then both Ted and Virgil escape before Brutus can take the hedge clippers to their beautiful scalps, which Jesse refers to as assault with a deadly weapon. And I think, once again, Jesse's right.
He is. That match ends in a double count out in just 10 minutes and 1 second. But can I just add that Brutus Beefcake doing the go to sleep motion is infinitely cooler than CM Punk's version? Like, even in those dumb pants.
Whoa.
What?
I will
Come at
not
me,
have
bruh.
you say that anything that Brutus the Barber Beefcake did was cooler than anything CM Punk did. You can have your opinions about Punk. He's kind of an asshole. I get it. But I know where you live. I know where you live.
I'm just saying,
I'm going to see you at
Brutus.
Thanksgiving next week.
Oh my God, I hate Thanksgiving. But no, I'm just saying when he did this, I got really excited and I did think of CM Punk, but I was like, Brutus did it first. He did it first.
Fine. I think somebody did it before him, but go on.
Probably. So did you like the match, Justin?
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it was one of those that was just fine. Well,
It was good for
we go to
nostalgia purposes. That's about it.
yeah, so meaning at the time it didn't matter really,
Right.
but looking back it's cool.
Yeah.
But we go to footage of what's called the annual WrestleMania brunch and I'm like, "What?" Like I don't recall there ever being a WrestleMania brunch before or after this, but I mean it sounds fun, like mimosas and waffles, like, I love a good brunch,
That
don't
was the
you?
original name of Penn and Teller, actually. Mimosas and waffles.
Dang, I thought it was going to be the name of your first high school band. I was
No,
going to be
no,
so
no, no. That's
excited for
that's your
you.
joke. You had a lot of bands, apparently.
I did. So, like, okay, I'm still stuck on this. Can it be called annual if it was like the first year of it happening or like the only year? Like, I'm very confused. But anyway, Lord Alfred Hayes, he's back. Like, I feel like we haven't seen him in a while, correct?
Yeah, no, it has been a while. I'm not sure why. I mean, I'm sure he's still doing like stuff on the TV shows, but yeah, on pay per view, it's been a bit.
I think it's because last time, remember, he seemed super nervous and was like super like, you know,
Wasn't he with
it's like
Susan?
no, I think he did one after that, but remember he had the program from the audience
Oh
member
yeah,
that we talked about.
yeah, that's
Yes.
right. I'm
Well, he's
not
in
sure
there
which match is coming up, but I'm here to get some autographs.
and his eyes were all shifty and he looked so
Yeah.
panicked. Like I felt sorry for him, but Lord Alfred Hayes, he's at the brunch. He's surrounded by fans inside the Trump Casino where a table full of food is set up and there's only two people sitting at the table, but it's the Bushwhackers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they are like, it was actually kind of grossing me out. They're like jamming their mouths with like full of food and making it impossible for them to answer any of Alfred's
That
questions.
that's
And
that's what's going
like,
to happen at Thanksgiving. Actually, I'm going to do my best bushwhackers at the table, and you have to ask me questions.
and you have to shove at least 6 deviled eggs into your mouth at
Yes.
once. I make the best ones, everyone, which I know that's like a weird flex, like, oh, I make good deviled eggs, but I do. Uh, so Alfred, he gives up. He's trying to ask these guys questions. They're just eating. So Alfred gives up and sends us back to, quote, a more civilized environment. But honestly, to me, it looked like Alfred was really laughing and having a hard time holding it together. Did you think that?
Yes, and you know what I think it was? It
Huh.
seemed like it started when he asked Butch a question with his mouth full of food, and whatever Butch said, I think he might have tried to say something dirty to make Alfred laugh because that's when Alfred started laughing.
I mean, I get it. I'm one of those people who if I start laughing, I cannot hold it together. I'm like the Jimmy Uso or Jay Uso, whichever one it was that couldn't hold it together
Yeah.
that night. And so I felt bad for Lord Alfred Hayes because I get it, man. It's hard to not laugh.
Well, let's
Well,
go
take
into
us
the
in.
next match here. It is the Bushwhackers versus the Fabulous Rougeaus with Jimmy Hart. Again, saw all these guys on Rumble 89. And we're kind of skewing older on this one. The Rougeaus still fairly young, 28 and 34, but both of the Bushwhackers in their 40s. Luke is 42 here and Butch is 44. And I'm just going to say this from the outset. This is a goofy match, probably one of the goofiest matches on the show. This match also made me happier than anything else on the show. I had a smile plastered to my face this whole time.
Me too. I would have canceled out 3 or 4 of the other matches just for this one to go longer because
Yeah.
I was enjoying it so much.
So the Fabulous Rougeaus make their entrance carrying tiny American flags, and they are announced as being from Memphis, Tennessee. So I guess this was like supposed to piss off anybody who doesn't like French Canadians moving to the US.
But, like, who doesn't like French Canadians moving to the US? Like, they're so nice. Like,
Yeah.
why would we not want
I
them?
mean, they're kind of weird, but I mean, but they're nice. They're nice. I like them.
They
I
say,
like them.
"Eh."
Now, this next part made me so happy. Okay. So we hear the Bushwhackers music, and I was like, yes. And then they're walking down the aisle doing the Bushwhackers walk, right? With the arms. I'm like, yes, yes. And then because of the stairs and the entranceway that we talked about earlier, Butch almost busts his ass.
Yes.
And I was watching this whole entrance just smiling and giggling like a little kid.
Well, and it totally works for his character, but like, remember last Mania? I said that. I said, wouldn't it be hard because you're trying to look forward, into the cameras, not looking at your feet? Wouldn't it be hard to not go down those stairs? But like, the good news is it was a bushwhacker, so like he could have played it off like Pee Wee, like I meant to do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
So it worked for them.
Yeah,
But
no, it's
yeah,
great.
I don't.
And then there's even two guys in the crowd who are doing the Bushwhackers walk in place. Like, this is so great.
I'm just gonna start walking everywhere like that. Like who wouldn't appreciate that? It's hilarious. Like I'm gonna be like walking up to the office. Yeah. I mean, who's gonna question me? Nobody.
Well, you know what? We're going to be at Disney in a couple of weeks. We should just try Bushwhacker walking through Disney and see what
Oh
happens.
my God. We have to like take little bets, and whoever loses has to do the bushwhacker walk, and we're gonna film it and we're gonna put it on our Twitter.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, in the ring, the Bushwhackers steal Jimmy Hart's jacket. And Jesse says, these guys will probably eat it.
Jesse's on fire tonight. But Justin, here's the question. Are they the original Briscoes? Because I'm getting huge Mark Briscoe vibes from the Bushwhackers. I always want to say the Bushwhackers.
Oh my God. Like, I
Yeah,
could
are they the
totally see
Briscoes?
that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's wow. Now I'm freaked out. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Mark and
I
Jay
like it.
Bushwhacker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, the Rougeaus, they're too scared to enter the ring. And so they're on the outside. And Luke is just doing the Bushwhacker walk in circles around the ring while Butch is like hanging his head out of the ring going, yeah. Whoa! Like, well, I don't know what we're watching, but I'm happy.
That is my favorite part. Like when they just walk around in circles. Because even during the Rumble,
Yeah.
remember, like one of them was just bored and walking around doing the walk. And like they're so underrated. Like they are so funny. And like
Oh,
I want to show them to like kids these days and be like, is this funny? Because
yeah.
it's funny
Yeah.
to us.
And tell them that their names are Luke and Duke. But
Luke can do. I thought about sending that clip to Elizabeth of you like doing an impression of her dad, but Shannon was like, she won't think it's funny.
oh, okay. All right. Never mind then. Well,
Darn.
Gorilla and Jesse argue about which Bushwhacker is in the ring. And it's Luke, by the way. And Jesse says it's Luke, but Gorilla says it's Butch. Then Jesse reveals that he can tell the difference the same way that I can. He says, no, that's Luke because Luke ain't got no teeth. And by the way, Gorilla still disagrees after that. Jesse's always right.
He is. And I had put this in my notes too, A, because I thought it was funny, but also I was horrified at Jesse's use of a double negative.
My word. My word. Get
Word.
that man off the airwaves.
I know. See, Justin and I are huge grammar nerds. We were gifted and talented. We went to a special school.
You know what I heard? That
What?
if you were part of a gifted and talented program in school, like we were, and like our sister was too, that was a way of determining your level on the autism spectrum.
No way, because there were so little bit of background. For 2 days a week, Justin and I had to get on a bus and go to a totally different school, and then the other 3 days of the week we went to our normal elementary school. It was called GEM, Gifted Education Midland, and we had really cool classes. It was like I remember I had an oceanography class, photography. It was really fun. We did an archaeology project where we actually like dug. It was really cool, but I know, like, okay, there were a lot of weirdos like us that were just like smart kids, but there were a lot of like the popular kids that went there too. Like the kids that ended up like being football stars and stuff. So were they autistic too? Like,
What?
are
See,
we?
I had a different experience because when I was there, it was all the nerds. It was all the weird kids.
Oh,
And like none of the popular kids were there at all. So I mean, you know, hey,
it's very much possible. I mean, You know what? All these years, okay, okay. Here's the thing. So you and I, this is supposedly, and this is according to our sister. Supposedly, you and I got in on our own. Supposedly, she did not get in, and our grandparents like wrote a letter to the principal and got her in. I don't know if that's true, but if that's the case, all these years I've been making fun of her, being like, "Oh, Justin and I got in on our own, but maybe we're just more on the spectrum."
Maybe so. Like,
I mean, we are obsessed with wrestling. Like, there are definitely signs. I feel like everyone is on the spectrum, like, to some level.
it could be. I mean, and there's like some things where it's like, you know, you might have a quirk, but that doesn't necessarily qualify you for like that far, you know?
How do we get here?
I have no
Oh,
idea.
the grammar nerds.
The Bushwhackers, they were wearing cargo pants before cargo pants were cool, which apparently they're cool again.
No, no, they're not. Mark got really mad because I threw away all of his cargo shorts because I was like, they're not cool. You're not gonna wear them. And he was like, but there's so many pockets to put stuff. I'm like, what stuff do you need to put in there? Like, get a fanny pack. Even a fanny pack is cooler than cargo shorts, bro. So like, where are you getting this that they're cool again?
I go to the mall and I see them out, and
No
I've
way.
seen people wearing them. Now I wouldn't wear them again. I was Mr. Cargo Pants back in the day,
You
like in the
were.
90s and early 2000s. I had all sorts of them. But when they went away, they went out of my closet. No more, no more. And they won't return.
Good, good. Well, you know who Jesse reminds me of on commentary? Or I guess it's more so who reminds me of Jesse? It's Chris Jericho.
What?
Because Chris Jericho, no. Because Chris Jericho is one of my favorites on commentary because he, like Jesse, has these very quick quips and like he's just so funny on commentary. And not everyone's funny, you know, like there's like Excalibur, or those guys who don't really make jokes on commentary. But I think it's the energy he puts forth when doing commentary. Like I wish Chris Jericho would be a full time commentator on AEW. I think he's so good at it.
Well, now he's the Ring of Honor champion. So he's busy. He's too busy for that now. But
Do you think they're getting a TV show?
I don't
Ring of
know, but they
Honor?
just announced that they're finally doing their third pay-per-view of the year in December. So,
Well,
yay. Bushwhackers finally get the pin, and it kind of looked like Raymond Rougeau was supposed to break up the pin, but got there too late. But the music started immediately after, so maybe not. Bushwhackers win the match in 9 minutes and 10 seconds.
brother, oh
Mhm.
my God. After the match was the most heinous thing I've ever seen in wrestling in my life. So they are like hugging, and then Butch starts licking Luke's sweaty head like a dog. He's like, and like, it's not even barely, like, he's getting all up in there. Like, the level of commitment he had was nasty. Like,
Well, okay,
like,
let's say that my head was really sweaty. My bald head was really sweaty. What dollar amount would it take for you to lick it?
I'm thinking, um,
Okay, let me give you a starting number. $100.
oh, are you kidding me? I no, like I was thinking at least 25 grand.
Oh my God, seriously?
I am so freaking serious. Like, no, 25 grand. I need to at least be able to like buy something way super nice. I don't even need 5 grand. I need 25 grand. What about you? How much would I have to pay you to lick my sweaty face?
Uh, I'd take a 20.
No, you wouldn't. You were so full of it. You would not.
Do you know the gross things I've done? You've witnessed some of the gross things I've done. I
All
on the
right.
gross spectrum, that doesn't hit it for me.
All right. So I
Now, wait,
say
wait,
when
wait.
we
I think that it's worse to be the person who's getting licked.
Yeah, that's really gross too. I don't disagree with that. Because it's not just like a little, it's like a bleh. And I had to make that for people who don't watch the video. I had to make the sound effects properly represent what I'm trying to get across. But okay, here's the thing. We're going to Disney World. If there's a hot day and I'm super sweaty, I'm gonna be like, all right, Justin, $20. But no, I don't want you licking me, so never mind.
Well, after the match, Sean Mooney is in the entranceway trying to interview fans. However, the Bushwhackers are making their way back up the aisle, and then they spot Sean, and they pounce. They're messing up his hair. They're licking his
Ugh.
face. And Sean Mooney says he's going to go find a brush and a towel, and he tosses it back to Gorilla and Jesse for our next match.
Oh, and you could see like the spit shining off of his face. It was so bad. Okay, so bleh. The Blue Blazer versus Mr. Perfect. So obviously, the Blue Blazer is secretly Owen Hart, and he last wrestled on Survivor Series 1988. And yeah, him and Shawn Michaels are the same age. They're both 23 on this pay per view. And then Mr. Perfect, he was last on the Royal Rumble in 1989, and he is 31.
Yes, yes,
So
yes. Well,
this is a
Mr.
fun
Perfect
match.
makes his entrance with no music. And remember the steps in the aisleway? Well, Mr. Perfect didn't remember him because he almost falls down just like Butch did. But he's finally wearing a singlet, which commentary actually makes note of.
Well, who needs music when you're literally wearing a highlighter as an outfit? Like, good lord, that was so bright. Like, I didn't even know they made colors that bright.
Yeah, he could divert traffic if he just stands in the road. Be great. Also,
Exactly.
a fan on the aisle sticks up 2 fingers to give Mr. Perfect bunny ears. Do people still do that? And how was that ever considered funny?
Oh, I thought it was kind of funny.
Oh,
But okay. Yeah. No, kids still do that. And I think it's just like I think I thought about this, and I think adults do it in front of kids because that's what adults did to them when they were kids. Like it's like a generational thing. Like we have to pass it on to the next generation.
so we can stop this. We can end this ourselves. You and I are both childless. So we're putting a stop to this one non-kid at a time.
No, Justin, your niece, she does it.
Dang it. I liked her. Dang it.
I know. She does it. Yeah,
Ah.
I saw it, and right when you were like, "Does anyone do that anymore?" I thought of her because I've only seen her do it a couple times, but yeah, she does it.
Man, I'm gonna have to have a talk with her. Well, the Blue Blazer gets a full entrance with this futuristic pew 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 music. It's kind of fun. I kind of liked it.
You know, I was thinking, I just realized that hologram wrestler that they're doing, it's kinda like that because he kinda has the pew 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 and,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's a little similar, but man, Blue Blazer, he starts off doing a backflip off the top turnbuckle, like, just to show off. Like, there was no reason for it, but like, oh my gosh, is this the birth of the flippy shit?
I mean, and he's a Blue Blazer. He's like he's got feathers, so he's like a bird. So maybe it's flippy bird shit.
Bird shit?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
need flippy bird
Jesse
shit.
Jesse mentions how he ran into Mr. Perfect's dad, Larry the Axe Hennig, and he says that Larry still has a 24-inch neck. He then says that Larry told him that he needs to lose 20 pounds, and Jesse replied, "Well, get your neck down to 18 inches and you'll be there."
Hey yo. Well, Jesse also mentions that he thinks he's almost figured out who the Blue Blazer is, but he won't say who. Why not? Why won't he say it?
Because he's a heel. He doesn't know.
Nah, true.
But not sure. But I think this might be the first pay per view where we've seen Tim White as a referee, which is a position he'd hold in the WWF for over a decade. So really good to see him here.
Oh yeah, I realized I was like, that's a new ref. We haven't seen him
Yeah,
before,
and he
but
was actually, when he wasn't obviously in the ring being a referee, he was Andre the Giant's kind of like assistant and handler. He would travel everywhere with Andre the Giant to make sure he had what he needs. You know, he was taken care of, could get along reasonably well considering his mobility issues and that sort of thing. So he did a lot more than just referee.
wow. Well, Blue Blazer, man, I cannot speak. Blue Blazer jumps from the top rope to frog splash Mr. Perfect, but Mr. Perfect puts his knees up, and it looked so good. Like it, because sometimes it doesn't always look that good, but it made me want to ask, like, how do they do that? Because it looked so painful for Owen Hart. So, like, what's does he land on his feet and kind of lean forward into it to make it look worse than it is? Like, how do they do that, Mr. Wrestler dude?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can do that. And I mean, you can just take it for the most part. I mean, you don't want to like full bore because, that's a good way to break a rib or a sternum, but you, it doesn't have to necessarily not hurt at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I feel like it would break a sternum.
I just, that makes me think of that scene in Wrestling with Shadows, the Bret Hart documentary where he's talking about wrestling and breaking his sternum on the guardrail. And I don't know.
Ugh,
Yeah.
that makes my chest hurt.
So this is something interesting I thought about during this match. Blue Blazer is known as a high flyer, but he also has good technical skills. Mr. Perfect is known as a technical wrestler, but he also has high flying skills. So it makes just like this really fun mix in this match where it could go up top, it could go in the air, it could be down on the mat. I really kind of liked this.
No, I did too, and I don't know, maybe it's just, the vibe in the ring for this match, like, they have the high flying and the technical skills, but also they're just so young that it's like they have the energy of, I don't know, something that has a lot of energy, but like, yeah, they're going very it's very, very fast-paced, especially for being in 1989,
Yeah.
because, we see some slow matches, some faster matches, but this one's on, like, the next level, and I feel like it's something we're not gonna see for a while again.
Yeah, no, this is a lot of fun. Jesse shouts out his favorite fans back in Minnesota, as he does on a lot of these pay per views. And I finally looked it up. It's his wife and kids. Isn't that cute?
Yes, and that's so funny because I looked it up too, like, I couldn't handle not knowing anymore, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very confused. So this Jesse says he has a big surprise for Gorilla later, and my thought was like, "Uh-oh, it better not be a bench press."
Oh, God. Bench press or
Um,
a pose down. Please, God, no.
please God, no, but that's when he mentions it, is right before this match
Well,
ends.
Blazer gets a pin for two, and he's questioning the count with the referee. Perfect hits a cheap shot, executes the perfect plex, and it's done. Mr. Perfect wins the match in 5 minutes and 38 seconds. We already kind of talked about it. Fun match here.
Very fun. I could have handled it to go a little bit longer, but I don't know, maybe keeping it at 5 minutes left us wanting more from the Blue Blazer.
Just say Owen
I'm just
Hart. My
gonna
God.
Yeah, from Owen Hart and Mr. Perfect. It left me wanting more, Justin.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. You could have taken out a couple matches on the show and let that one go for a little bit. Especially, it didn't have a championship on it, but if it had, put another 5 minutes on that match because that was fun.
For sure. Well, again, Jesse Ventura teased a huge surprise and he says, now it's time. And Howard Finkel introduces an all time star, one of the top commentators in the world, and a self professed Hollywood star. It's Jesse Ventura. And from from the commentary booth, like high above to the fans, Jesse stands up to pose and wave for the fans. And so, like, was that it? Was that the surprise? Like just standing up and waving to everyone?
Yep, that was it. That was it. Jesse's just a ego-driven heel.
Well, Gorilla is very unimpressed, and I was too. I was expecting at least something, but as long as it's not a bench press or a pose down, I'm fine. He tosses things over to Lord Alfred Hayes, my dude, and we go to a pre-tape segment at the annual. Again, I don't think that word means what you think it means or whatever it is. WrestleMania 5K on the New Jersey Boardwalk, and like, yeah, again, how is this annual? But just before the race starts, Mr. Fuji shows up in his tuxedo and his hat and his shiny shoes, and he's carrying his cane and he's jogging back and forth. And he says that he's entered the 5K to show that he's in good shape for tonight's match.
Mm.
So the race starts, everybody bypasses Mr. Fuji. We lose him in the crowd, and then fast forward to Mr. Fuji finishing the race, still in his tuxedo hat, shiny shoes, and carrying his cane. And he says that he's in superior shape and that tonight the Powers of Pain will become the next tag team champions. And so, like, did he actually run that?
I highly doubt it. I think this is one of those things where they let the 5K go, they drove him to the end, and then said, all right, everybody stand around like you're finishing the race. And that's how it went.
Well, I mean, a 5K is not like super, super hard, but I was just going to say that's really hard to do in dress shoes.
True. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to do
Ugh.
it.
No, heck no. Well, back at the arena, it's time for the match. No.
No.
Because Howard Finkel introduces the WrestleMania rap performed by Run DMC. And like, hey, I was excited to see him. I really was. And boy, this audience is white. Man, they're like kind of grooving, and the rich people in the front row look nervous to be so close to black people, not gonna lie. And like, I think I saw a rich lady move her purse under her seat. Like, that's messed up. And like, the rest of the rich people look like they're about to be jumped into a gang. Like, I mean, Trump is not having it. Like, in fact, at this point in the show, I kind of thought Trump was like a wax figure because he hasn't smiled or moved this entire show. And like, oh man, it was just bad. And Run DMC finished up the rap, which thankfully was not very long. And I just want to know why they didn't sing America the Beautiful, because obviously WWF's entire music budget for this show went to them. I mean, so after their final rap, Gorilla says a little bit of that went a long way. Like, dang, ouch. Like, come on,
Gorilla, not a rap. Well, you know, what was Run DMC? Were they East Coast? Maybe Gorilla was a West Coast rap guy.
I have no idea, but I think any of them could have sang America the Beautiful better than Rockin' Robin.
Probably so. Probably so.
Well, then we get footage from Survivor Series where Mr. Fuji turned on Demolition, making the Powers of Pain the bad guys and Demolition the good guys.
Mm.
So backstage, Mean Gene is with Demolition, and Smash says that they're in their war gear, and tells the Powers of Pain that there's only one thing left to do: knock your stinking teeth in. Axe says that they're on top of the mountain and calls Mr. Fuji an overstuffed rat, as well as Fuge the Stooge, my favorite. Fighting words, man. And now that finally leads us to our first title match of the night.
Yes, indeed. And it is a handicap match for the WWF World Tag Team Championship. The champions, Demolition, versus Mr. Fuji and the Powers of Pain. So 3-on-2. Saw all these guys at Rumble 89, but even though we've seen him on the outside before, we've never talked about Mr. Fuji in depth because he's never been in a match, and this is the only one we're going to see him in. So, Mr. Fuji, born on May 4th, 1934, died on August 28th, 2016, at the age of 82. On this pay-per-view, like we said at the top of the show, 54 years old. His real name, not too far from his gimmick name, Harry Fujiwara. Now, get this. Mr. Fuji actually won the WWF Tag Team Championship 5 different times, 3 times with Toru Tanaka, and 2 times with Mr. Sato. Now, I have some trivia for you, Michelle.
Okay.
3 times with Toru Tanaka. How would you know Toru Tanaka?
I would guess that he is in Three Ninjas Kickback when they go to Japan to rescue the grandpa.
You are close, and that could be true. I'm not sure.
Really?
But
pulled that one out of my butt.
But he is in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Whenever Pee-wee goes to Francis's house and there's that big guy that says, Francis is busy. He's having his bath. That is Professor Toru Tanaka.
Shut up. That is so cool, because that's one of my favorite underrated moments of that movie, because it's when Pee-wee keeps knocking over and over and he opens it again. He goes, me again. And he shuts the door.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is so exciting. I will always think of this now every time I watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. So after retirement, Mr. Fuji ran a wrestling school, and then he also worked as an usher at a movie theater.
What?
So there's a career we haven't heard of post wrestling yet. Another thing you'll hear a lot about Mr. Fuji, huge river backstage, pulled pranks that were like on the borderline of not being a prank and just being flat out like mean and not right. But he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2007. So Mr. Fuji, huge name in wrestling history. But let's talk about the title itself, the WWF Tag Team Championship. This is the 5th time we've seen this title defended on pay-per-view. The last time was at SummerSlam last year in 88. And at this point, Demolition had been the tag team champions for, get this, 372 days, winning the championship from Strikeforce at last year's WrestleMania. So let's get into the match. Powers of Pain and Mr. Fuji enter with no music. What?
I hate it. I hate it so much. But hey, Mr. Fuji is shirtless. Like, this is the first time we've seen him not in his little outfit. And like, he got a little something under there. Like, who knew?
Yeah, I didn't expect him to have tattoos on his arms. That surprised me. Like, they look like very old tattoos that have been smudged. But
yeah, for sure.
Kind of surprised me. Now, Demolition enter, oh God, wearing these studded leather masks. In addition to all their other gear we've already talked about, it really completes the whole S&M look that they got. Like, seriously, they've got to be buying their gear from a sex shop, right? That's the only way.
Especially in the 80s, they had to be. And can you imagine like having to walk in as those big guys and be like, I need to buy this and this because you couldn't order it on the internet back then.
Yeah,
So
maybe they wore their face paint so nobody would like know who they really were buying all that stuff.
right. Well, speaking of costumes and the barbarian, I mentioned it earlier. I went to my first Renaissance fair this weekend and it was Barbarian weekend.
Oh my God.
Um, Justin, I gotta tell you about this
All right,
thing.
do it.
Okay, so I went to the one in Houston, which apparently is like one of the biggest ones. There's actually a documentary series on the Houston Ren Fair on Max, I believe. I just watched it, and honestly, I kind of hope for more. It's really more about the guy who owns it and who it's gonna go to next. Justin, I've never, I go to wrestling shows, like I go to horror cons. I'm a weirdo and I'm used to being around other weirdos, but I have never been somewhere before where I felt like I didn't fit in and
Hmm.
I felt very out of place here. Uh,
Did
you
you
know,
feel like different or cool or what?
Different.
Mhm.
So really I thought, it'd be like 50-50, like people dressed up, people not. No, about 93% of people were dressed up. I was not. Um, there were a lot of transitions lenses. Do you know what those are?
Yes.
There were a lot of those. Um, it was just a strange experience. I'm very glad I went. I don't know if I would go back. I it's like in the middle of the woods in North Houston, and there's a lot of pine trees, which is why I think I sound the way I do, because there's a ton of trees and we're not used to those in West Texas.
Right.
But the food was good. It's just a lot, everything is fried. And
Oh.
so fried stuff has always made me kind of irpy.
Uh,
So I did have a fried peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And like when you order it, they'll be like, okay, that'll be
well,
six
now,
pounds.
what? Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. When I think of food at a Renaissance fair, I'm thinking it's like big ass turkey legs, like bowls of crappy soup, like actually kind of maybe somewhat authentic to what people ate in the Renaissance. You telling me they got fried peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
Okay, so they did have the turkey legs, like the mutton and stuff, and they had like kettle corn. That's a big thing at Ren Fair is kettle corn, but they did have some stuff. Like they had like potatoes and stuff like that, but they had banh mi, which I'm like, that is definitely not Renaissance.
Wait, what?
Banh mi? It's like a type
Isn't
of
that like a
sandwich?
tile cleaner? What is that?
It's a type of sandwich, and I was introduced to it in one of the new Halloween movies because the cop has a banh mi, and he's like, "You have a peanut butter and jelly? I have a banh mi," and he's like, "I'll make you a peanut."
Spell this word. I don't understand.
I think it's spelled, and I could be wrong. I think it's BAHN banh mi mi, and
Wow.
it's like a foodie thing right now. So they had banh mi. Um, They had a lot of, like, beer and wine and mead and stuff like that, but yeah, Barbarian Weekend, there were a lot of barbarians running around there, and I was looking for just one that would be wearing, like, dressed like the wrestler, but it didn't happen. I did see a guy in a kilt that had a Roddy t-shirt on, so that
Okay.
was
Well,
cool.
okay, that's
Yeah.
that's good. That'll work. That'll work.
But other than that, I didn't recognize anyone. There's random stormtroopers, and I'm like, "That's not Renaissance.
The
Is this just a
hell?
nerd festival
These
at this
people get
point?"
lost. What happened?
I know, it was weird, and again, I go to horror cons and wrestling shows. I am not hating on nerds one bit. I just did not I felt so out of place there.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah. But that's all I gotta say about that. So, why did they even agree to a handicap 3-on-2 match? Like, this is a terrible disadvantage. Why would you do that?
I think maybe Axe and Smash couldn't count, and so they said it's even. Let's go. We're gonna kick your stinking teeth in.
Maybe they felt Mr. Fuji didn't count as a whole person because
Maybe
they were like,
so.
"Oh, he's older. He sucks." I
That's
don't
true.
know.
That's true. Well, Mr.
Yeah.
Fuji here does something that we haven't seen on pay per view before, which is the ceremonial salt. So, for people who haven't seen this,
Mm.
basically, Japanese wrestlers would throw salt out of the ring in order to, quote, ward off any evil spirits ringside, which is weird because the rich people stayed right in their seats.
Ew.
Yeah.
They came back after Run DMC finished.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's safe. It's safe, everybody. Do you still have your Barry Manilow record? Is it there? Okay, good, good.
Yeah. They sound like Susan.
Well, it's not far.
Well, Fuji was choking Axe with his nasty bare foot, like putting his toes right in his face. And I'm like, why didn't Axe bite off a toe? This was his moment. Like he could have had a Tyson moment.
Look, if Tyson moment, like if anymore, a Tyson moment is just dancing around for 8 rounds. But
No
um,
joke.
yeah, I don't know. Somebody sticks their foot in my face like that. Like I'm not a foot person. I don't like anybody's feet. Like I don't. Come on, that's gross.
Yeah. I agree with you fully.
Boy, you know what? Surprisingly, for this being the first title match of the show, crowd is quiet for this one. Like it almost seems like it's the same thing we talked about during the Cornette Heyman thing last week. The crowd cares about nothing except seeing Mr. Fuji get his ass kicked. That's it.
Yeah, you're right.
And it kind of worried me because if the crowd is already tired and we're only like halfway through the show, that ain't good.
No, Justin, I was already tired at this point. Like,
Yeah.
I remember you texted me and you're like, you might want to like split it up and watch it over 2 days because it's kind of a lot. And I, after like, yeah, probably about this point, I was like, okay, I gotta stop because yeah, I was tired at this point. We still got another half of a show to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, wasn't great. But Fuji did a move off the top ropes. Like, okay, I underestimated him. Like,
Yeah, didn't
that.
expect it. Might have looked prettier back when he was actually active, but I mean, the dude is in his 50s coming off with a splash from the top rope. You can't complain about that, right? But
Hell yeah.
finally, Warlord is holding Smash up so Fuji can throw salt in his eyes, but Smash ducks. The salt goes right into Warlord's eyes. Oh my God.
Ow, like, you can't fake this, right? Like, there how can that not hurt very badly? Like, is there a secret trick? Do you use sugar? No, that would still hurt.
Yeah, I mean, usually what they use is like either, baby powder, like talcum powder, or maybe even sometimes flour, because, it's visual, it poofs
Ah,
like salt does not. So,
yeah.
but still, I mean, you get that in your eyes. I mean, you get flour in your eyes, you can make bread out of your eyes. I mean, so gross.
That's gross. That's funny, though. So, what was wrong with Barbarian's side? Did you catch that? It was like a canvas burn or something. I thought it was like a red tattoo at first.
He actually rubbed his banh mi sandwich on his side at the Ren Fair, and it just left a
Ask your
mark.
wife. I guarantee you, your foodie wife will know what this is.
I will ask her. I will ask her when I see
Okay.
her tonight. But
Okay.
finally, Demolition is alone in the ring with Mr. Fuji. And now, like we said, the crowd is finally interested. They hit their finisher on Mr. Fuji for the 1, 2, 3. Demolition win the match and retain their championship in 8 minutes and 20 seconds. The match itself, how do you feel?
I think it should have been shorter. I know it was only 8 minutes,
Yeah.
but at this point, with the crowd being pretty dead and whatnot, it should have been shorter, especially when they were hot for like Owen Hart's match, and
Yeah.
that was only like 5 minutes. So,
Yeah.
yeah. What'd you think?
Uh, it was disappointing. I
Yeah.
mean, it was, they've been building up this feud between Powers of Pain and Demolition for a while, and it was just like, eh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
backstage, Tony Schiavone is outside of Randy Savage's dressing room, and we can hear Savage inside yelling and throwing things around. And Randy busts through the door, shoving Tony and the cameraman down, yelling, "I told you no interviews. Hulk Hogan, I'm ready." And you know what? I'd be pissed too if they shoved me in a literal broom closet and called it a dressing room. This thing was like 4 feet square.
I'm so impressed with your Randy Savage impersonation right now. That was really good.
Why, thank you. Why, thank you. I'm going on the road next week. Catch me at Chuckle Hut. But
Chuckle Hut.
let's go on to the next match that means absolutely nothing to this show.
Oh my god, I'm very over these matches that don't mean anything, but as you said, so it's going to be Dino Bravo with Frenchie Martin versus Ronnie Garvin.
Hmm.
So, we last saw both these guys on Royal Rumble 1989 and they're both in their 40s. Why didn't you put this at the beginning? These guys need to go to bed. Those people
Oh,
in their 40s go to bed early. Oh wait, sorry Justin.
okay.
Oh
It's
wait, you go to bed at 8 p.m.
yeah.
Never
I mean,
mind.
I do. I do. So what? So what? So what?
Well, let's get into the match,
Yeah,
man.
so Ronnie Garvin, he's already in the ring as Dino Bravo makes his entrance. And Michelle, Dino is no longer Mr. Macaroni Head. He has his hair straightened and parted and combed.
Yeah, it does look much better, I will say, but why is everyone blonde now? Like, Ronnie Garvin wasn't always platinum blonde, and I feel like he's stealing Sting's hairdo.
Well, what do his hair do?
That.
All I got.
But no, was
Before the
was
match gets
Ronnie
started, this was so weird. Howard
Ugh.
Finkel announces a special guest, and he says that this person is classified as one of the all-time greats in the WWF from the Fiji Islands, Jimmy Superfly Snuka. And I was like, whoa, Superfly. We haven't seen him in forever. Amazingly, we haven't seen him wrestle on a pay-per-view yet, but we did see him in the corner of Hulk Hogan and Mr. T on the first WrestleMania. So here's what happens. Jimmy Snuka makes his big return. He walks down the aisle, slapping hands. He enters the ring. He poses with the I love you fingers up, and then he leaves. Like, he just leaves. Like, we don't see him again. All while Dino Bravo and Ronnie Garvin just stand in the ring and wait for this to happen.
Dude, I was totally wondering. I was like, is he at least gonna be on commentary or something? Or like I thought maybe he'd be out there for Ronnie because he doesn't have a Frenchie. But no, he just pieced out. And I was like, this is like Jesse's surprise. It's like it's built up and there's nothing, and it's so confusing.
It's in contention for one of the weirdest things on this pay-per-view, but it's not necessarily the winner. Crowd is quiet for this match too, but really they should be. I mean, it's just kind of a nothing match. It's a house show match. Ronnie even pounds Dino's head in the turnbuckle 10 times, and the crowd barely counts. I think he stops at like 6 because he's like, yeah, we're not getting them.
Yeah, I feel like everyone knew that this was gonna be like a semi-squash match.
Yeah.
It literally felt like an intentionally placed bathroom break match.
Could be.
It really did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be. Well, Dino hits a side suplex for the pin out of nowhere. Dino wins the match in just over 3 minutes. Post match, Ronnie Garvin attacks Dino Bravo and Frenchie Martin, which Jesse calls poor sportsmanship. And you know what? He's kind of right. Like, why did Garvin need to do that? But we go to a recap. I don't know why. Did we really need to recap that? But anywhere.
It drove me nuts because yeah, like the match was 3 minutes and 6 seconds long. Why
Yeah.
did we need to recap? They pretty much just played the match over again.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much what they did. But really, nothing happened really between this. This is like one of the first times that between the matches there was real no content that we could cover. So yeah, take us into the next tag team match.
Yeah, it's a tag team match. The Brain Busters with Bobby Heenan versus Strike Force. And last saw all these guys as well on Rumble 89, all in their 30s in this match. Getting into it, the Brain Busters enter with Bobby Heenan to no theme music. So this was kind of a thing for some wrestlers still at the time.
Well, I maintain looks different every single pay-per-view. I swear. He Are there like okay, our mom has this conspiracy theory that there's like 3 Undertakers. I think there's 3 Tullys because he always looks different every time.
He could form his own 4 horsemen. He just need like one more Tully, and then he could do it.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
Strike Force enters with their weird inspirational 80s music, and Jesse points out that Strike Force was a good tag team, but they haven't teamed in a while due to an injury to Rick Martel. So at first I thought that was just kind of like a little offhand comment, but we'll see, not so much.
Yes. Well, this is completely off topic, but I got real excited because I saw a cotton candy seller in the crowd. Like he was walking up the aisle on the hard cam side, and like remember how they carry like that big board with all the tiny holes where they stuck the cotton candy sticks in? Like
Yes.
that was back in the day when it was
Yeah.
real cotton candy. It wasn't that nasty prepackaged garbage they sell today that's really bad for you. It was legit.
You know what's funny is my wife and I went walking around the college here the other day, and we walked by Shap Center, which is the arena there on campus.
Hmm.
And I swear to you, I'm not making this up. Every time that we walk by there, I can smell the popcorn and the cotton candy that would be there when the circus would come to town.
Yes. Well, they have the high school basketball games there, and they
Mm.
do cotton candy and popcorn and
What?
stuff. Yeah, and I wish they had the candy apples because those were my fave. But yeah,
Oh,
they do.
man.
Mhm.
Do they still is it still basketball season for high school kids? I don't know.
It's actually about to start. We're kinda wrapping up football season, and then it's usually kind of the 2nd semester when those start.
Oh,
So, yeah, a few games just start, but you should go to one just to sit in Chap Center because it looks exactly the same. I went to a show, like a hypnotist show, it was free, we were bored, it's Midland, a few months ago, and they had, like, popcorn in the concessions, and
oh
it just
man, I
took
gotta
me
go.
back. Yeah, you have to. It's a lot of
Oh,
fun.
oh, that's the building where I graduated high school too.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yep.
really cool spot here where Strike Force hits a double drop kick, and even them getting up off the mat from the drop kick was synchronized. Total accident, I'm sure, but it was cool to see.
It was cool, and boy, is Martell built here. Like, I don't remember him being that big, do you?
No, he was always in very good shape, but he looked like bulky here.
Mhm.
Really
Yeah.
bulky. But later in the match, Tito Santana goes to hit a flying forearm, but he accidentally hits Rick Martel
Ugh.
instead. Oh no.
Oh, no, Susan. Oh, no.
Well, even with all of the hopping back and forth between companies, it's still weird to see Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard in the WWF.
It really is. It contributes to my confusion, like, between shows and companies, like, them and Junkyard Dog. Like, I have no idea where those guys wrestle at any given moment.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, Tito is beaten down and he's crawling for the tag and he almost gets there, but Rick Martel walks away. And then he drops off the apron and walks back up the aisle through the curtain, leaving Tito to fend for himself. And of course, the
Ah!
Brainbusters smell blood in the water and they're suddenly very happy. Arn hits that perfect spine buster. Tito, he kind of mounts a small comeback, but the Brainbusters hit the double team pile driver and it's over. The Brainbusters win the match in 9 minutes and 17 seconds. How'd you feel about this one?
I like this one better than the other matches. I thought it was fun. I thought it was great setting up a story with Chico Santana. Um, I will never get over that. Brudai and Chico. But no, I thought it was a good match. What did you think?
Yeah, it was fun, and I love how it told the story throughout of just those few minutes that they're kind of not on the same page, and then all of a sudden they pay for it, and there's the big splitteroo there. But Mean Gene is backstage with Rick Martel, straight up questioning him like a disappointed dad. You know, what kind of explanation do you have for leaving Tito Santana high and dry out there? And Martel says that Tito got what he deserved. Rick says that he's
Oof.
been doing great as a singles competitor, but Tito's been riding his coattails. Tito's a loser, and he's lucky that Rick is such a gentleman because it could have been much, much worse. So, bye bye to Strike Force. We're not going to see them again.
No more. I'm okay
Well,
with it.
back to Gorilla and Jesse, who talk more about the whole Tito and Rick breakup. And we see a few crowd shots here. They're clearly killing a bit of time here, stalling as they wait for whatever's next. And boy, oh boy, do I wish they would have stalled until the main event because my God.
Oh, gosh.
It's time. Let's just do it. Let's get through it. Why do these segments always fall on me, by the way?
I don't
Um,
know. I'll willingly take them. I feel bad that you always get these segments.
Well, it's all right. Okay. So I'm going to give everybody the same warning that I did on our Royal Rumble show a couple of weeks ago before the Super Pose Down. If you only want to hear us talk about the matches, go find something else to do. Okay. If you haven't gotten your college degree, or if you want like a second college degree, go get that set up. Go to admissions, go to the, what's the person, your advisor, and
Yeah.
set up a whole 4-year plan. Hell, go to med school. Do that
Yeah.
because it's going to be a while before we get to another match. Let's get into it. Howard Finkel announces a special attraction, but wait, the ring canvas now has a plaid carpet over it, and there are plaid stools in the ring. Then the Fink introduces Rowdy Roddy freaking Piper. Hell yeah, the bagpipes play, the crowd goes nuts, the curtain opens, and it's Brother Love in his white jacket and a kilt.
I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it. I actually believed them and thought it was gonna be Roddy, and I was super excited. And then my least favorite person comes out.
Well, Brother Love gets in the ring and gives his standard,
Oh.
I love you, before
Ugh.
announcing his very special guest, Brother Rodney Piper. Brother Love, then gets off of the stool that he's been sitting on, takes off his glasses, and switches stools. And then he does his impersonation of Roddy Piper, which, to be fair, ain't a bad impersonation of Roddy Piper.
Eh.
I think it's not bad. Brother Love, he does this a couple times, going back and forth, basically interviewing himself as Roddy Piper. Gorilla says, "This guy's soft as a grape." I don't know what that means, but it's a funny expression that I think I'm going to try to use soon. But finally, music plays out of nowhere, and we get Morton Downey Jr.
What the hell?
For those who don't know, Morton Downey Jr. was a former radio show host who rose to fame as the host of his own daytime TV talk show. And it was basically the Jerry Springer show before that was a thing. And Morton Downey Jr. would berate his guests and generally just be a jerk. And people ate it up. I mean, they loved hating him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Downey gets in the ring and Brother Love says, just because he loves Downey doesn't mean he likes him.
At this point, I almost muted the rest of the segment because I didn't want to hear, "I love you" again. Oh God, it was so bad.
Downey responds that any guy who wears a skirt, he doesn't want to love him, because remember, Brother Love is in a kilt here. Now, throughout this whole segment, Morton Downey is just chain smoking cigarettes, one after the other, to the point where you have to wonder like how he even breathes clean air. Like it's got to just sound like whenever he breathes. But a couple more insults are traded, and then Howard Finkel finally announces Rowdy Roddy Piper. Once again, the bagpipes play, curtain opens, and here comes Roddy. Now, regardless of the segment, it's so good to see Roddy Piper here.
So good.
And so he walks out of the ring looking a little leery of the situation, like he's not sure what's going on. And then Roddy starts in on Brother Love, looking at his kilt, saying, "Oh, you got them Betty Davis knees," right? And then Roddy continues to insult Brother Love. And the whole time, Morton Downey Jr. is throwing unlit cigarettes at Roddy. And so Roddy's having a pretty good time at Brother Love's expense until Brother Love tries to grab Piper's kilt, and Piper stops smiling. He gets all serious and says, "You do that and I'll bite your face off." It's like, whoa, okay. All right, Piper, fine. And I kind of believed that he would have done it. But finally, Roddy says he wants to find out if Brother Love has anything under his kilt, rips the kilt off, which exposes Brother Love's red underwear. And then Brother Love is covering himself up, running back up the aisle where he busts his ass on the stairs. Piper turns his attention to Morton Downey Jr. So Downey blows cigarette smoke in Piper's face, and Piper politely asks him not to do that. And Piper starts talking about Downey's TV show, but he gets a face full of smoke again. So Piper's getting a little bit more annoyed by this and asks Morton again, "Stop doing that." Piper says Downey has never had a guest on his show like him. And Downey says, "Oh, yeah, I did. It was a guy with long hair and a skirt who got picked up in a bar as a transvestite." Oh, boy.
It was Ronnie Garvin.
Oh, God, he was missing Lana Lively. Yeah. Well, this goes back and forth. Insult, smoke in the face, insult, smoke in the face, before Roddy says he kind of likes the smell of the smoke and asks Downey for a cigarette. Well, when Downey turns around, Piper pulls a fire extinguisher out and sprays down Morton Downey Jr., exiting the ring, finally putting an end to this segment. So now we go to the next match, right? No, we don't. Sean Mooney is ringside with Donald Trump, and they talk about what WrestleMania means to the city and how packed the casinos have been. Now, we got something that was cut out of the Peacock feed here. It was a preview for the movie No Holds Barred, which was the WWF's first film starring Hulk Hogan. So the next thing we see on the Peacock feed is an irate Jesse Ventura, pissed off that Hogan is entering Hollywood, which Jesse considers his territory. So he says Hollywood isn't big enough for the both of us, and if Hogan wants to come to Hollywood, he can drive Jesse's limo. Wow. So time for a match. No, we look back at the story of the Mega Powers, them forming the team at WrestleMania 4, all the way to more recent events where we saw Savage attacking Hogan in the trainer's room, where we can faintly hear Elizabeth say, "Oh, Randy." "Oh, Randy." Let's go to a match. No, not yet. No, we don't get the match
Oh
yet.
my
No, no, no,
God.
no, no. Mean Gene is backstage with Hulk Hogan. Oh, God. Hogan says he should have seen this coming. Randy brought jealousy between them, and he calls Randy a cheap shot artist. Then, just like last year's WrestleMania in this very same Trump arena, Hogan invokes the name of Donald Trump to give the most insane promo. He says Donald Trump sent a team of seismologists to check the foundation of Trump Towers. And as the mega powers explode off the launching pad, as they erupt over Atlantic City, Trump was worried about the thousands of people in the arena, that they might be swallowed by the earth, blah, 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 blah. And what you gonna do when the whole world of Hulkamaniacs destroy you? Michelle.
Yeah.
You're still there. Okay, good, 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 good.
Oh, I got my PhD, by the way.
Oh, good, good. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Did you graduate in the Shap Center again?
I
No.
did. I actually left, sat through an entire graduation, walked the stage, and came back.
From
Yes.
the end of the last match, which I don't even remember what it was now, to this moment where we finally go to the next match, 33 minutes. I'm tired. Please take us to the next match.
I will. I'm going to blame Vince for that one, but normal people would think, oh, what? Randy and Hulk are talking? We must be at the main event. Nope.
No, no, no.
Nope. We still got a lot to go. So sorry, but we have a singles match with a special referee, Big John Studd. Kind of interesting. So we've got Andre the Giant with Bobby Heenan versus Jake Roberts. Now, both these dudes, like a lot of our guys, last wrestled in the Royal Rumble in 1989. Andre the Giant is 42 at this point, and he's definitely moving and showing his age for sure.
Yeah.
Jake Roberts is 33. I don't understand it. I just don't. But so a little bit of history with the match going on. So back in the fall of 1988, Andre the Giant had interfered in one of Jake Roberts' matches. Jake pulled out his snake, don't be nasty, which terrified Andre. And Jake then threw the snake on Andre, causing him to pass out from a kayfabe heart attack, which I'm like, that's a little too real, little too close to home, WWF.
Yeah, right?
But well, later in the year, Big John Studd returned to the WWF, turning down the managerial services of Bobby Heenan and starting a feud with Andre. Now, Studd went on to win the Royal Rumble and agreed to be the special guest referee for this match, because obviously that's what you win with the Rumble, right?
What a prestigious prize.
I know.
Referee a match on the undercard? Wow. So glad I beat 29 other guys for this.
They've really got to get that situation figured out. They got to get that figured out. But Big John Studd enters to theme music, which would later be Hacksaw Jim Duggan's theme music, like with a couple tweaks. But I'm like, all these wrestlers didn't get entrance music, but the ref does? Okay.
Yeah, right. Well, and speaking of, Andre and Bobby enter with no music, which was standard for Andre. But as they're coming down the aisle, you can see Bobby tell Andre, watch these steps, to which Andre says, but,
every time you do that, it sounds like, I don't know Star Wars very well, but it sounds like something that I hear in Galaxy's Edge at Disney. I'll point it out when we're there.
It's probably one of the Star Wars fans. He saw a woman.
Right. Oh,
sorry. During Jake's entrance, Bobby Heenan has removed a turnbuckle pad. So right when Jake enters the ring, Andre slams Jake headfirst into the exposed turnbuckle.
Yeah, when did he even do that? Like, how did I miss that?
I missed it too. Like the moment they said it, I was like, oh wait, when did that? Oh, well, okay. I guess that's why Bobby is as good as he is.
I guess so.
He pulled it off. Well, Gorilla was talking about how Jake should pull the snake out and says, haven't you ever heard the story of David and Goliath? And Jesse says, yeah, and he used a foreign object too.
Dude, Jesse is smart. Like, I always say that funny people have to be smart, but he's just like so quick. Like, it would take me so long to come up with something like that.
Yeah, well, and it's no wonder he went into politics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
good at improv.
Yeah, very much. Now, this is a very slow match, basically because it has to be. Like, I'm not being mean about it, but Andre was just he couldn't do nothing, but he certainly couldn't do as much as he used to, and he's trying his best.
He's like Mike Tyson this weekend.
Oi.
Oi. But it really is a testament to how good Jake the Snake was, because
Yeah.
I feel like you had to be a very talented wrestler to make a match with Andre look good at this point in time. Like, I'm not hating on
Yeah.
Andre, but he's getting up there and he's a giant dude. Like, obviously his health is suffering. And so I think they really put the wrestlers that they really trusted and that could make anyone look good with him.
Yeah. Now, and unfortunately, with this being a slow match, the crowd's dead for this. I mean, going 33 minutes without a match was not a wise choice, but that combined with this being a slow match, just, yeah.
Well, neither was having 14 matches. That wasn't a wise choice either.
That's true. That's true. And we've
Like,
had
this
this
should have been the
conversation
main
on
event.
past episodes. Do you prefer shorter pay-per-views with a few matches or longer ones with a jillion matches? And I think this is one of those examples why you just don't do this.
Right. Man. So, and again, this should have been the main event. Like, that would have been a great
Yeah,
pay-per-view.
Hogan
Damn. But
Hogan Savage should have been here.
yep. But inside the ring, Andre and John Studd get into an argument in a shoving match while on the outside, and Ted DiBiase and Virgil, as Finkel would say, attack Jake and steal the bag with the snake in it. Whoa.
What? Well, Jake
What?
fights Ted in the aisle while Andre attacks Big John Studd. Jake runs back to the ring, throws the snake towards Andre, who ditches out of there immediately. And Big John Studd calls Andre to be disqualified for attacking the referee.
Yeah, man. Jake Roberts won that sucker via disqualification in 9 minutes and 44 seconds. I'm really surprised this one went this long.
Yeah, I am too. But a lot of things on this show surprise me.
Yeah, well, Sean Mooney is high up in the arena interviewing a fan about tonight's show. And the fan, he's just like, Jake's the best. Jake's the best. Jake's the best. And the interview ends. It was weird.
And that was well worth our time.
Very much so. It's almost like, God, I don't even know what they were thinking. But Tony Schiavone, my man, he's backstage with sensational Sherry, who says she is sensational, unlike Rockin' Robin singing. And that Rockin' Robin can't sing any better than she can wrestle.
Ooh.
Dang, she's so savage.
Dang.
But after saying she's gonna take Robin's title, man, she turns her hate toward Miss Elizabeth, saying Elizabeth is beautiful, but Sherry is hot and vicious. And finally, she mocks Elizabeth, saying, "Isn't it a shame that tonight your mega powers will explode?" Like, I freaking love you, Sherry, but like, this segment was so weird with no women's matches on the card. Like, what was the point of this?
Could we have not done Sherry versus Rockin' Robin in place of one of these matches we're seeing?
I know. I feel like this was just like a Vince. Oh, we have to have a woman on there. Okay, let's give her this. Like,
Right.
that's all I got.
Right.
That's what I got from that. But other than that, the random sensational Sherry, we've got yet another tag team match.
Yes, this one is Greg Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man with Jimmy Hart versus the Hart Foundation. Saw all these guys at Rumble 89. Hart Foundation enters to that music that we love, and Brett is finally wearing those cool wraparound shades. Everything is right with the world.
You had some of those, didn't you?
I did. In fact, I bought those at the Royal Rumble that I went to in 97.
You had a lot of money because you bought a lot of stuff at that Rumble.
My mom gave me a lot of birthday money that year.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mom, dad, when you have divorced parents, you get 2 presents.
That's
Lots
right.
of money. Well, those wraparounds, they always remind me of those like cheap disposable sunglasses they give you at the eye doctor when they dilate your pupils. Oh, I hate that. Hate it.
That's true. I never thought about that. That's funny.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Well, a cool move when Brett shoots Greg Valentine into the ropes and then slingshots Jim Neidhart from the apron into the ring for a shoulder tackle on Valentine as Valentine is running back their way. Never seen that before. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I've never seen it before. You would think like something that cool would have caught on and you'd see it a lot more, at least like Natalia do it or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool. And Justin, you can hate, but you got to admit that Honky Tonk Man is doing some great selling in this match. He always does.
Gorilla and Jesse argue about Jim Neidhart biting Greg Valentine, and Gorilla plays innocent. And Jesse says, I saw it. I don't have those Coke bottle glasses like you. I got 20/20 hearing.
I put that in my notes too because, like, I know what he's saying. Because, like, I have 20/20 hearing. Like, I wish I did not hear so well. Like, I can't even go to a Mexican food restaurant and not be irritated the whole time because I can hear a chip crunch 10 tables away. It pisses me off. I'm like, "Close your mouth. Close your mouth." But, ugh.
Well, a good
Ugh.
bit of good natured ribbing here. They talk about the length of Honky Tonk Man's reign as Intercontinental Champion and mention the first champion, Pat Patterson. And Jesse says, Pat Patterson, what a relic he was. Knowing full well that Pat was working backstage and could hear everything they're saying. I loved that.
Me too. It's like Jesse's just having so much fun with this show,
Yeah,
but
like the commentary on this show, say what you will about the show itself, but the commentary here was on point tonight.
oh, absolutely. And at one point, Gorilla says, like, he maintains that there should be two refs for tag team matches because of distractions. Yes,
Yeah.
this. Why didn't anyone listen? Oh, wait, it would ruin the upcoming decades of shenanigans.
Yeah,
Like,
and you
that
know
is the
what?
fix.
I want to say that in Mexico, that is the thing, that there's two referees.
Well, good, because like that's the fix right there. But no,
Yeah.
no, no. We got to have
Yeah.
our shenanigans.
You know, if you think about their nicknames though, these partners are backwards. Like it should be the hammer and the anvil, right? Hammer and anvil. But
Ew.
that would leave the hitman and the honky, which sounds like one of those stomp clap bands from the early 2010s.
What is a stomp clap band? Like, are you talking like Mumford and Sons? Like, I will wait for
Yeah, it's
you.
like those they were like on AC radio for a little while in the early 2010s when it'd be like, "Hey, hey."
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. You're cooler than me. I didn't know what those were called.
I was a radio DJ, you know.
Right. That's true. That's
I mean,
true.
now the crowd is picking up a bit for this match surprisingly, but it's still kind of down from where they were.
It's because of Honky.
Oh
That's why
lord.
they're so excited for Honky Tonk Man, Justin.
Okay, yeah. Well, finally, Jim Neidhart throws Jimmy Hart's megaphone to Brett, who nails Honky with it behind the referee's back for the pin in 7 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, but he cheated. Faces don't cheat. Like Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, dot, 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 is a heel?
No,
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 no.
it couldn't be. I mean, we just saw them turn face like last year, but I mean, you know.
Yep.
Anyway, we then get a look back at the superpose down from the Royal Rumble, and if you think I'm recapping that again, you can leave. You
Yeah.
just go, just go.
Yeah. I actually fast forwarded for the first time in any pay per view that I've watched so far for this show. I fast forwarded through that because I was like, this is already a long show. I'm not sitting through that again.
Yeah, I don't blame you one bit. I wish I would have been that smart. But let's go to the second title match of the night.
Yeah, good God. So it's a singles match for the WWF Intercontinental Championship. So we've got Rick Rude with Bobby Heenan versus our champion, Ultimate Warrior. So a little bit of title stats. This is the sixth time we've seen this title defended on pay-per-view. And the last pay-per-view we saw this title defended on was WWF SummerSlam 1988. So at this point, Ultimate Warrior had been the IC champion for 217 days, winning the championship from Honky Tonk Man at SummerSlam in 88.
He
So
deserved to lose it.
that is the rudest thing you've ever said. Well, both of these guys were both on Survivor Series 1988, and they're almost the exact same age. Rick Rude's 30 and Ultimate Warrior is 29. Now, a little bit of history. This match came about as a result of the superpose down at the Royal Rumble, where Rick Rude beat the Ultimate Warrior with that weird springy workout bar bendy thingy.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
thingy. That's what you look up on Amazon actually when you want to order one.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Rick Rude enters to his stripper music and does this whole thing about letting the women in the crowd see what a real man looks like. And the music starts again. And Rick removes his robe and does this whole gyrating thing. And I got to say, from the shots of the crowd, the women are definitely interested. I'm personally more interested in the fact that Rick has the Intercontinental Championship airbrushed on the front of his tights.
Yeah, for half a second, like, I couldn't tell if it was a real bell or not because it was very detailed, so nice job.
Yeah.
Um, you said the ladies are, like, enjoying Rick Rude. They show this one pretty lady, but golly, she had some hair, man. Like, I thought she bought a Brutus Beefcake wig at the merch stand. Like,
Yeah, no, the hairspray was a good business to be in back at that time. But
Lord,
the Ultimate Warrior, he runs down to the ring. Rick Rude tries to knee Warrior in the stomach, but Warrior is wearing the title belt. So Rick is already starting the match with a bum knee. Kind of a nice little touch.
yeah, and he was dumb to do it because duh, the belt is there. But Warrior does that thing where like he puts both hands on the ropes and like shakes them violently. And every time I think of MJF because MJF does that all the time.
See, every time I think about it, I think about when I was a kid and Warrior was my guy. So anything that kind of looked like a rope, like a railing or something on some stairs, I'd grab it and shake. Ah.
And that's why you were in the gifted education program,
Yes,
Justin.
indeed. Yes, indeed. Warrior is throwing Rude all over the ring, really, like we've never seen anybody do. And this is where I noticed that Rick has the Ultimate Warrior's face airbrushed onto the butt of his tights, except it's a really bad likeness. It's like if the Ultimate Warrior mated with a monkey, and it's a monkey who smells a really nasty fart. And every time that Rick Rude walks, it looks like the monkey warrior is like sniffing the fart some more.
That is so oddly specific, like mental picture. Like, speaking of, did you hear about those lab monkeys that escaped? Like, good for them.
I did not. I think there's been movies that started like that. I'm kind of scared now.
Yeah, and no one knows what they're infected with, and they know where they are. There's 42 of them, and they're just like living in this like city park, and they can't catch them. And I'm like, good for
Awesome.
the monkeys. Like I don't believe in animal testing, so there you go. But Jesse says that this is his upset pick. Like every time Rick pins Warrior, he yells upset. I love upsets. I'm very good at picking like which games will be upsets like in football each week. Like I'm like Miss Cleo. But
Oh,
yeah,
Miss
did you watch
Cleo.
Miss Cleo as a kid?
You know what? I totally remember the commercials. I did see the documentary with her in it, which
Yeah,
was like super sad. Um,
extremely.
because she was just an actor that just got wrapped up in all this and then got left with kind of nothing.
Yeah, like they made so much money off of her and then she got nothing out of it. It really was crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Warrior gets a bear hug on Rude. Why?
Mm.
Like the crowd is already tired. Rick Rude, you didn't need a bear hug right here. And Rude gives Warrior a thumb to the eye to get out of it, but Warrior locks another bear hug in right away. And it's like, why? Like you guys were getting the crowd back when they had been dead for the past several matches, and now you're going to put them to sleep again.
Yeah, maybe like the only thing I can think is WWF like paid for X amount of time and Vince made sure they were going to get every penny's worth and not waste a single second, whether it was detrimental to the show or not.
That could be. That could. I mean, you got to fill your time, right? But
Yeah.
good little funny touch here. Rick Rude tries to swivel his hips, but his back hurts too bad to even do that. He gives up like half a swivel in. I kind of liked that.
Well, my back also hurts too bad when I swivel my hips, Justin.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Well, finally, Rick Rude is on the apron. Warrior tries to suplex him to the inside, but Bobby Heenan grabs Warrior's leg, causing Rick to fall on top of him. Bobby keeps holding Warrior's leg while the ref counts 1, 2, 3.
Oh, and Rick Rude wins the match and the championship in 9 minutes and 36 seconds. Were you surprised?
You know what? I mean, I knew the outcome of this one, but it's just one of those things where it's like it's just so perfect because everybody hates Rick Rude because he's the one all the ladies want. Everybody hates Bobby Heenan because he's the weasel. But to see them outsmart the Warrior, which let's be honest, probably wasn't that tough. Um, it was well done. I thought.
So back then, did because I feel like Warrior just won that championship. And maybe it's because we'd watch these like back to back to back. But I feel like back then like belt holders didn't hold on to their championships as long. Like we've got, Roman Reigns and he had it for like ever and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like these guys don't hold on quite as long as they do now. What do you think? Is that true?
Um, yeah, well, it's harder back then too because they did only have four pay-per-views a year. So unless you were going to do it on a big show like Saturday night's main event or something like that, it was kind of hard to find that opportune time to do a title change. So,
Right.
but I do feel like at least at this time, NWA was doing more title switches on TV than WWF was.
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, there's not really much between the matches. There's real no content to cover here. So let's get into the next one.
Yeah, yeah, it's a singles match. Bad News Brown versus our guy, Hacksaw Jim
Ew.
Duggan. Bad News Brown, 45 years old here. And if it weren't for Mr. Fuji being on the show, I think Bad News Brown would be the oldest one on the show. And of course, Jim Duggan, still in his mid 30s. He's still going strong. So, real short match here. Not a lot to say about it. Bad News Brown enters to no music. Hacksaw also enters no music, but he's likely just waiting for Big John Studd to get done using it. Then he'll take it.
Exactly. That ref needs all the music he can get. But
Yeah.
hey, I realized during this that I feel at some point I need a trios team with Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Bushwhackers. Like they just fit, right? Like he could even be kind of their leader, like
Yeah.
take care of them.
Yeah. And it could just be like all their vocalizations like in a round and be like, ho, yay, row. Just over and
Lick.
over. Yeah. Bad News is focusing on Duggan's head, which Jesse says is a mistake. He says, "You think that's going to hurt that idiot? You can't scramble his brains. They're already scrambled."
That was a good one.
But Bad News brings a chair into the ring. Hacksaw grabs his 2x4, and both of them swing at the same time, smashing the foreign objects into each other, causing the ref to call the match a double DQ in 3 minutes and 49 seconds.
I feel like those weapons should have canceled each other out and no one should have gotten DQ'd.
I kind of agree. I kind of agree. Like nobody got hit, just the weapons got hit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But, all of that said, oh my God, the snot. Can we
Oh,
talk about it?
do I need to blow my nose? Or oh,
No, no,
you're
no,
talking about on the show, okay.
no.
Um,
No.
yeah. Oh, it makes me bleh. I don't like it, but
Yeah.
you talk.
It Hacksaw Jim Duggan after the match has this glob of snot.
Ugh.
And I'm not talking like a little booger. I'm talking like something the size of like an everlasting gobstopper
Oh!
hanging off of his mustache, and he doesn't
Oh!
even know it. And Jesse, I think it was, even brings it to attention. He's like, "God, look at this guy with all that snot hanging from his nose."
Oh god, it was so nasty. Like, that is so like, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. That is so inappropriate. But, Justin, what was the point of this match? Can you tell me?
Nope.
It was so pointless.
Yeah. I mean, it was at this point, he's just trying to get everybody on the show he can to make it seem like the biggest show ever.
Like, we're just doing, like, a podcast recapping it, and I feel like it's way too long for our listeners. So, like
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. Well, let's get into it. Backstage, Mean Gene's with the Red Rooster. Oh, God. It's getting worse and worse. So before we see the Red Rooster, we hear him go, "Arr, arr, 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 arr," and he walks into the frame like a rooster. Like every step he takes, his head like twitches forth like a rooster.
Hey,
My
he even
God.
has, like, Twizzlers glued to the top of his head to make him look like a rooster.
Twizzlers.
That's what they look like.
Well, he's talking about Bobby Heenan, and he says he can't wait to get his rooster claws into that weasel hide. And Rooster says it's going to be a great day in the barnyard, and all the fans will be saying, "Arr, arr, 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 arr." No, no, they won't. They
No.
won't. We have gone from people who think that they are Elvis impersonators to a man who thinks he is a literal rooster.
I
What are we
mean,
doing?
I guess they gave him the name, and maybe he's just like, "Oh, dang, well, this gimmick sucks, but I'm gonna do it 150%." Because before he didn't act like the rooster, but now it's just yeah, he's got the head bobbing going on. It's kinda
I
ridiculous.
mean, this was something
Yeah,
and
well,
and a half, or maybe it was half of a something. I'm not really sure what we just saw. But anyway, Let's get
Well,
into the match.
you get to see him wrestle. Red Rooster is wrestling Bobby Heenan, which,
Yeah.
hey, now, I mean, I'm always happy to see Bobby. Now, he last wrestled at WrestleMania 4, and he is 44 years old on this pay-per-view. Again, I feel that's an appropriate age. He kind of looks
Yeah.
44. Red Rooster, now, he last wrestled on the Royal Rumble in 89, and he is 33 on this show. A little bit of history of why this is happening. The Red Rooster was originally managed by Bobby Heenan, but grew tired of Bobby's demeaning coaching style. So Bobby offered to break the relationship off amicably, but it was all a plot to allow Heenan's newest acquisition, the Brooklyn Brawler, to attack Red Rooster.
And what an
Whoa.
acquisition that was, because I don't know that the Brooklyn Brawler ever won a match on TV. But
I don't think so, but I mean, this match is very short, so let's just
yeah,
say
why
what we
not?
have to
Why
say.
not? Yeah, Bobby enters to no music with the Brooklyn Brawler behind him, and Bobby is still selling those injuries from the Ultimate Warrior's attack after that match, that Intercontinental title match. The Red Rooster enters to music that's punctuated by the occasional rooster call, and it's at this point I am begging for the end of this show.
Same. Well, Bobby is wearing a one strap singlet, kind of like Andre does. I mean, I guess he was trying to take that look, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, why not? And then if he starts sounding like Andre, brrr. But this truly is a blink and you miss it match. A couple shots to the turnbuckle, then Bobby dives shoulder first into the ring post. Red Rooster rolls Bobby up for the 1, 2, 3. That's it.
Yeah, Red Rooster wins the match in 32 seconds.
Yeah, now post match, the Brooklyn Brawler attacks Red Rooster, but Rooster makes a comeback, chasing Brawler from the ring and then standing there, cocking his head back and forth like a rooster. Like a rooster, Michelle.
It's not his fault, it's Vince's fault. I fully believe that. Like, this dude did not want to be doing that. Especially he's like a really attractive dude. Like, I feel like Vince didn't like him. Like he had a weird jealousy. And this is totally me making up things, starting rumors. And that's why he made him do it.
But why do we have to suffer?
Hey man, I don't know about that one. But again, can you tell me the point of this? Because I feel like this episode should just be called "What was the point of that?"
Yeah. Yeah. It's all too much. Like we've gone too far down the rabbit hole. This show should have been half as many matches as it is.
Really should. Well, Mean Gene is backstage with Miss Elizabeth, who's looking quite troubled. She says that
Mm.
this has to be the most difficult time of her entire life. Oh, poor you, Elizabeth. Man, if this is the most difficult time in your life, just wait, bruh. Just wait. But she's going to continue to support both Hulk and Randy, but it's unfortunate that they have to settle their differences this way. And finally, she says she can only hope and pray that neither man will be seriously injured. Like she's the worst girlfriend ever because at this point they're married in real life but not on screen, right?
Right.
Okay, so I mean, even though they're just like together and not married, even then she is a horrible partner in life. Like you're cheating, man,
Yeah. I
Elizabeth.
wouldn't keep her around. I'd be like,
No.
what are you
No.
doing?
Well, Tony Schiavone's in the fake locker room and he says the locker room is empty. All of the wrestlers have cleared out to head to the arena floor to watch the explosion of the mega powers. And Sean Mooney is on the arena floor asking fans who's going to win. And this goes about as well as you'd expect. But
Yeah.
Justin, oh my God, finally, it's time for the main event.
Thank you, Lord.
Bless
Let's
the
do
Lord.
it.
Ugh,
It
let's do
is
it.
a singles match for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Hulk Hogan versus the champion, Macho Man Randy Savage. Now, this is the fifth time we've seen this title defended on pay per view. Here's what's crazy, and I'll explain it here in a second. The last time we saw this title defended on pay per view was at WWF WrestleMania 4 a year ago. And now think about this, because that seems crazy,
Mhm.
but it's SummerSlam. Hogan and Savage were on a tag team, so the belt wasn't on the line there. And then at Survivor Series, they were on the 5-man versus 5-man tag, so the belt wasn't on the line there. And at the Royal Rumble, both of these guys were in the Rumble match. So we haven't seen the WWF Championship defended on pay-per-view in a year, and Savage has been the champion that entire time for 372 days.
Man, it just doesn't feel like that long because again,
Yeah.
we go through these so quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in case you've missed it, let's catch you up real quick. The Mega Powers were, of course, the dominant team of '88, even though they never went for the tag team titles. Dissension started to form as Randy slowly became jealous of Hogan, not only of Hogan's notoriety, but also his relationship with Elizabeth. You know, Elizabeth and Hogan hugging after matches, and Hogan taking care of Elizabeth when she was injured, and Elizabeth taking care of Hogan when he was injured. And at one point, Randy even picked up the big boss man's nightstick after a match and was staring at Hogan while he was doing his posing for the crowd. But things came to a head when Elizabeth was knocked out during a match and Hogan turned his attention to her instead of the match. Randy attacked the Hulkster backstage, leading to our main event. Are you ready?
I am so ready. Let's do this.
All right. Well, for this match, Elizabeth was placed in a neutral corner, as they said. That didn't last long. Um, Macho Man's music hits first, and as Jesse later points out, the champion is entering first. Like, what is that? Oh, right. Hogan has to come out last. He
Ugh.
has to get the pop. And unlike all the other wrestlers tonight, Savage is surrounded by security on his way to the ring.
Yeah, and everyone is booing Savage, and it surprised me because in my mind, like, he was clearly the face, but I'm watching it like hindsight 2020 or 2024 or wherever we are.
You have 2020 hearing, Monsoon.
But Jesse does say that he thinks Randy Savage is the most talented wrestler in the world, and I feel like that's a really big honor coming from Jesse.
Yeah, and I mean, you could argue that. I mean, Savage had it all. He could do everything in there. But the First Lady of Wrestling, Miss Elizabeth, enters to Savage's music as Jesse comments on what a gold digger she is. Elizabeth has even more security around her, and the aforementioned Pat Patterson walks behind her, one arm on either side of Elizabeth for extra protection. Good to see Pat Patterson here.
Oh yeah, but why did she need all that security? Like, no one cares.
I don't know. But we finally get Hulk Hogan's entrance again, surrounded by security. So I guess they really thought it was necessary. I don't know.
That's so strange. But Jesse keeps calling Hulkamania Pukemania, and it makes me so happy because I too believe it is Pukemania, Jesse.
Well, before the match starts, Randy hops out of the ring to grab a fan's sign and rips it up, then gets back in the ring. It was almost like he was thinking, oh, yeah, I meant to do that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The match is back and forth, and it goes to the outside where Randy hides behind Elizabeth. And that's where I realized this is classic melodrama. You and
Yep.
I have done melodramas hundreds of times. Good guy, bad guy. Bad guy is using the good girl as leverage. And that's what makes this story of this match enjoyable.
Right, but I still just don't believe that Randy Savage is the villain in this.
I kind of agree with you. Yeah.
Except, well, in a little bit, we'll think he's the villain. But Gorilla says, I just caught Donald Trump chewing his nails outside the ring. And like, I don't think that was a nervous thing. Like, if his face tonight has indicated anything, he's probably just like very bored and found a hangnail to chew on.
Just looking for something to do.
Yep.
Um, Odd note here, question for you. Does Randy have weird hair? Like,
Yes.
it doesn't look soft to me. It looks like he has beard hair growing out of his head.
Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. Yeah, like I think he needs to condition like bad. And I also kind of wonder if maybe it's starting to thin out a little bit. So he's trying to like tease it up and maybe rough it up to kind of make it look like there's more of it. Maybe.
Maybe it's like if you touch his hair, it doesn't flop back down. It just stays sticking out like wherever you moved it. It's weird.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. It is weird. He needs a deep conditioning treatment or like a keratin treatment bad.
I will make note of that. I'm going to do that to myself later tonight, actually.
Oh, fantastic.
You've convinced me. At one point, Hogan grabs Randy's tights to throw him out of the ring, and Gorilla says it's a leverage move. I say Hogan's a heel.
I believe you, but that heel is bleeding, Justin. I can't think of another time we saw blood on WWF. Like, we don't get that in WWF, do we?
Not often. I would have to think at some point we've seen it in a previous match. I'm trying to think of one, but yeah, I mean you're right. It's not very common in WWF.
Yeah. Do you think that was an accident? Like something just happened?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. But, if there's one match where it could use a little bit of blood, this would be a really good one for it.
Especially since it's the 14th of the night.
Yeah. Well, when Randy's down on his back, Hogan uses his boot to rake Randy's eyes and forehead. Hogan, heel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not arguing.
I happen to glance down at the front row, and the kid who we're assuming is Donald Trump Jr., but we don't know. He has one of those Hogan foam fingers, but he's ripped the finger off. And as an adult, this caused so much anger in me. I was thinking, your dad spent good money on that for you just to rip it up. I'm having parental thoughts and I'm not even a parent.
Well, I think it's because we grew up poor. So if we got something like that, we were like, ooh, this is really exciting. But knowing what you've told our listeners, I probably would have just bitten off the entire foam finger and chewed on it a little bit.
You probably would have. But we got drama. We got drama, Michelle, on the outside. Hulk throws Randy over the top rope. Elizabeth tries to help him up, but Randy shoves her aside. Yeah. And then Hogan tries to throw Randy into the ring post, but Elizabeth stands in the way. And then Randy sends Hogan into the ring post instead. And then Elizabeth tries to help Hogan up, but Randy pulls her off of Hogan, yelling at her and putting his finger in her face. Yeah. And he even grabs her chin and shoves her up the aisle. And the referee finally intervenes and sends Elizabeth to the back like, damn, that was some heel heat. I was like, all right, Randy, now you're pissing me off.
I know. This is when he became the bad guy in my mind because, do you think they would go that far in today's wrestling, like shoving a lady? Because that's kind of
I
I don't know,
I don't
domestic
know.
violence-y.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can go that line is so thin,
Yeah.
that it's I just don't know. I don't know if they would do it today or not.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree. I don't know the answer either.
Yeah, well, back in the ring, Savage focuses on Hogan's throat, choking him on the rope, choking him with his foot. It's like Randy was saying, yeah, when I'm done, you're going to talk like me. Yeah. Yeah, screw your throat, brother. Here it comes. Here it comes. You ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
Hulk is down. His throat destroyed. Randy Savage goes to the top rope, hits a picture-perfect elbow drop right to the throat of Hogan. 1, 2. Hogan kicks out.
Pissed me off, dude. Savage was so hot. And even the crowd was hot for him. And he's using the tape on his wrist to choke him out. And so I thought Hulk was a goner. I was like, here we go. And then no.
Yeah, we get the Hulk up. And punches have no effect on Hogan. He sends Randy off the ropes and hits the big boot. Then Hogan bounces off the ropes and hits the leg drop. 1, 2, 3. Hogan wins the match and the WWF Championship in 17 minutes and 54 seconds. What the hell, Michelle?
Justin, I wish I could tell you, at this moment in time, I'm thinking Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair are the same. I need that match because who would you want to win in that? Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan.
Flair.
Yeah, me too, which is surprising because that's coming from me. But hey, Jesse says Hulk will stoop to any level to get what he wants, and that he will.
It was, yeah. Okay, we'll get into it in the final thoughts. But Hogan does several minutes of his posing, and then we fade to black. Let's do your final thoughts on that match and the show as a whole.
You go first, Justin. I feel like I always go first. You go first.
Okay. This show had moments. It's not a great Mania. It's just not. There's some nostalgic moments. I loved the Bushwhacker match. It was good to see the Rockers, but it's just that main event it's just this blood feud, right? And then it would be one thing if Savage destroyed Hogan's throat and maybe Hogan does kick out a few times, but not out of the elbow drop. But even if you got to have Hogan win, and that's where you want to go, to have him absolutely get his ass kicked for 15 minutes, and then he kicks out of a pin, hits a big boot and a leg drop, and that's enough to put Randy away after all that time. Ah, man, that ain't for me. That sucked.
I fully agree. That entire time you're talking, I was just nodding. Yes. I agree with you. I liked even like thinking back to days ago when we talked about King Haku and Hercules, like even that match was more fun, but this was just such a big buildup that, for me, every pay-per-view, I'm like, when's Randy Savage gonna turn? When's he gonna turn on him? And it took forever for that. And so I was expecting so much more out of this match. Like, because we've been waiting for it for so freaking long. And for one, it was only 17 minutes long. Like I kind of expected more. Um because after, Hulk got his butt kicked that whole time, I could have seen a whole nother, 10 minutes of him, getting back up on his feet and really beating down Randy Savage and making that win more believable. Uh we could have sacrificed like 3 or 4 matches to see a longer version of this, which granted they were very big, muscly, meaty men and probably didn't have the best cardio. But this show as a whole sucked for someone like me who my attention span is so short, and it felt like this show just dragged. And that is no
Yeah.
hate to the wrestlers, because each match, the wrestlers did a good job. They did their job. They did a great match, but there were just there was too much. And it's like Vince thought, oh, I'm going to make WrestleMania 5 great by making it the longest show and stuffing as much possible into it for it to be great. But it really was detrimental. And I hope by next year, WrestleMania 6, they learn something, because, I mean, I think all the other WrestleManias were way better than this one. And that's not the direction you should be going. You should be on the uphill, not the down.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, that's WrestleMania 5. Why don't you let us know what happened after this pay per view?
Let's do it. So, Demolition continued to feud with the other tag teams, defended their tag titles against the Twin Towers and the Brainbusters. But on an episode of Saturday night's main event, Demolition lost the titles to the Brainbusters, ending a historic 478-day reign as the tag team champions. This record stood until 2016, when it was beaten by the New Day.
New Day.
Francesca, um, which I'm okay with that, because if anyone's going to beat a record, it's the New Day. I
Oh,
support
yeah.
that. Meanwhile, the Powers of Pain slid down the card, facing teams like the Bushwhackers. Hey now, that's not down the card.
Whoa.
Facing teams like the Bushwhackers and the Rockers before being split up to pursue singles careers, which I think that could get kind of interesting, but maybe not. It'll depend on how Vince writes them.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Well, Rick Rude continued his feud with the Ultimate Warrior, also getting into a war of words with Rowdy Roddy Piper along the way. Tonight's match won't be the last time we see Rude and the Warrior face off for the IC championship. That's like the ATM machine, the Intercontinental Championship, the pin number at the ATM machine. I hate when people do that, and I almost did it. So Rick Martel turned heel, forming a little bit of an alliance with the fabulous Rougeaus, and he would later adopt the gimmick of the model Rick Martel, which I feel like that's Rick Rude's gimmick, but whatever.
And that's what he was when I started watching wrestling, was the model. So it wasn't until much later in life when I got to see him as not the model that I went, oh, he was a good guy.
That makes sense, because you would have been like 7 this year.
Yeah.
So the Hogan Savage feud was put on hold. As we mentioned earlier, Hogan had filmed a movie called No Holds Barred. The bad guy from that movie was known as Zeus, and their on-screen rivalry spilled into the WWF world, which we would see unfold on pay-per-view later this year. Meanwhile, what happened with Savage and Elizabeth? Well, there's something we didn't see on this pay-per-view. After the broadcast went off the air, Mean Gene was interviewing Miss Elizabeth, and Savage showed up along with Sensational Sherry.
What?
Oh, yes. I don't know why they didn't show this on pay-per-view, because I live for the drama. But Hogan interrupted things, but was nailed with a steel chair by Savage. Yeah, you get him, Savage. Yeah. For the time being, and really for the next couple of years, Sherry would be the new manager for Randy Savage, while Miss Elizabeth eventually disappeared from WWF TV for now, anyway.
Yes, for now.
Whoa, well, that's fun. Well, before we talk about what we're gonna do next episode, do you think we could maybe possibly get
Wrestle
some wrestle stats?
Some wrestle stats. I got you with the wrestle stats. We do have some updated numbers here because Randy Savage had another match, which means he holds on to the top spot for the most matches on pay-per-view at 15. He also has the most wins, even though he didn't win here tonight with 11 wins on pay-per-view. And we have a brand new leader in the most losses, which is our old friend Greg Valentine, aka David Lynn.
Debbie Lynn, I was
Um,
hoping you'd remember that.
now has 8 losses on pay-per-view. Let's talk about rematches. We've watched 176 matches on Wrestle Recap. 7 of them have been rematches for a percentage of 3.98%. And out of those 176 matches, 63 of them have been title matches for a percentage of 35.80%. And if you dig those Wrestle stats, get the Wrestle stats for current wrestling, AEW, WWE, ROH, TNA, and you can find those on X, on Threads, on Blue Sky, and on Instagram, all of them at Wrestle Stats. Quick shout out. We shout out some wrestlers whenever they interact with us on Twitter and on Wrestle Stats. Serpentico from Ring of Honor and AEW. He was like one of the OG wrestlers who was into Wrestle Stats and still retweets them and comments on them at various times. So shout out to Serpentico. Check him out on Twitter at King Serpentico.
Yeah, we love Serpentico, and I'm always so excited to see him. Like, whenever I go to an AEW show, he'll sometimes work like a dark match with like a new talent, and he's so good. And
Yeah.
to work with that new talent, you've got to be really good. So we love you, Serpentico. Thanks.
Yes. Where can they find you online if they want to talk to you?
You know what? You can find me over on those Twitter waves at Michelle Tater. Or if you want to talk to myself or Justin, you never know what you're going to get. You can tweet out to at Wrestle Recap. And we are on Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, because I'm one of the cool, hip young kids. I don't even know if we have any followers on Blue Sky yet. Don't know. But yeah, Justin, what are we going to talk about for next week's episode?
Next week's episode, we're heading back on down south to NWA WCW Wrestle War 1989. Here's what we got on tap for that: 9 matches, 5 title matches, 1 bull rope match, and 1 result that will make Michelle throw things in anger.
Oh, hell, I swear if Ric Flair beats Lex Luger or something like that, I'm going to